Let's begin with the AM Newsline. Ghana's cocoa sector is sinking. Revenues are falling below accepted levels, with production numbers by more than 50% in just 4 years. A special report by Joe News Research shows the country is gradually losing its weight on the global cocoa market, posing significant threats to the economy and the stability of the city.
Ghana, the world's second largest producer of cocoa, has seen its 2024 export earnings plummet to $1.7 billion, the lowest in 15 years. An analysis of data from the Bank of Ghana shows that cocoa export earnings have fallen below the $2 billion mark, representing a sharp 25.4% decline in just a year.
Gold, cocoa and crude oil are Ghana's top 3 foreign exchange earners. However, the cocoa sector is unique. This is because Ghana retains over 90% of the foreign exchange generated. This happens because the Ghana Cocoa Board controls the entire cocoa sector, unlike the gold and crude oil markets where private players dominate. This means that cocoa is crucial to Ghana's economy. Therefore, any shocks in the cocoa sector would have far-reaching consequences.
This drop is largely attributed to dwindling production, which has shrunk by over 11% within the same period. The decline in forex inflows from cocoa is exacerbated by illegal mining activities, smuggling, and crop diseases, all of which have significantly impacted yields.
It is a difficult situation for the country at the moment, where we've not been able to find lasting solution to illegal mining, activities. And I mean, if you look at the situation, more than 5 regions have been affected by illegal mining activities, and majority of these regions are places where cocoa farming also goes on. And so, in fact, if you go to the Ashanti region and parts of the Western region, for instance, you see a cocoa farm on one side, illegal mining sites also on the other side.
In just 3 years, Ghana's cocoa output has fallen from over 1 million metric tons in 2021 to slightly above 500,000 tons in 2024.
There are actually a cocktail of factors affecting Ghana's cocoa sector. And over the years, or over the past 5 years, we've seen production coming down from as high as over 1 million tons a year to now roughly a little bit above 500,000 tons. And this is simply because of the illegal mining activities going on in the country, also coupled with smuggling activities. For instance, we've looked at the data, and you cannot be losing on average 150,000 tons to smuggling and still expect to get more revenues from cocoa exports.
This dramatic reduction has also weakened the country's ability to secure favorable terms in the syndicated loan market.
For many years, the Ghana Cocoa Board has relied on syndicated loans, essentially large loans obtained from a group of banks to finance its operations. With an average syndicated loan of $1 billion to $1.8 billion, it became increasingly difficult for Ghana to reassure investors that we have enough cocoa beans to pay back these loans. As a result, the Ghana Cocoa Board has shifted its focus to self-financing. But with an almost non-existent local bond market and tight fiscal conditions, payment to farmers has become relatively slow. And as a result, most times, this has increased the effects of smuggling.
Despite Ghana and its western neighbor, Cote d'Ivoire, jointly accounting for over 60% of global cocoa production, both nations have struggled to benefit from the recent surge in global cocoa prices due to forward sales agreement. In 2024, global cocoa prices soared by a record 157%. Yet, Ghana recorded its lowest export revenue since 2010. The country's cocoa earnings have been on a downward trend since 2022, when production and export volumes started to decline. In October 2024, a Joint News Research report projected that cocoa export earnings would fall below $2 billion, a development that has now materialized.
We definitely saw this coming. I mean, we started observing the data right from the beginning of last season, somewhere 2023. And it was clear that it was going to be difficult for the country to make that 2 billion threshold in terms of cocoa export revenues. And so usually around October, export revenues should be hitting somewhere around $1.7 or $1.6 billion. But in 2023-2024 season, something different happened where in August, we were still recording below $1 billion dollars in terms of the cocoa exports revenue. And so it was clear that, Ghana wasn't going to meet or cross the 2 billion threshold.
With earnings dipping below this critical threshold, Ghana's already fragile economy faces increased pressure. The continued decline in cocoa revenue is expected to further strain the Ghanaian cedi, worsening the nation's fiscal challenges.
Now, the opposition NPP is pushing back against the special prosecutor's declaration of former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta as a fugitive and a wanted person. Addressing a news conference, the NPP's national organizer, Nana Boache, described the OSP's declaration as unreasonable, stating that the OSP was aware of Ofori-Atta's medical trip to the US in January and had been informed by his doctors that he would return to Ghana in March. The party also condemned the raid at Ken Ofori-Atta's residence by national security personnel, vowing to reject any form of harassment, but assured its members it will cooperate with state officials.
Traveled on the 2nd of January, and your letter to him came in on the 24th of January. So how could the man be labeled as a fugitive when he was already in the country? Indeed, he was not even the finance minister about 8 months before the elections. And you, Mr. Kise Jaben, you were the special prosecutor. And he was in the country throughout. For 8 months to the election, you could not invite the person. The person steps out of the country for medical attention. And it is not as if you wrote to the person before he traveled. Your letter came 2 weeks after he had traveled. And yet, you unreasonably labeled this person as a fugitive. Very, very, very unreasonable. To avoid any misunderstanding, since he was appointed Minister of Finance in 2017, Mr. Ofori-Atta has consistently demonstrated unwavering transparency and respect in response to all legal inquiries and state investigation involving him. Let it be known that the New Patriotic Party and our members are law-abiding and will cooperate fully with any state institution. But however, we will reject any form of political harassment.
Now, Health Minister Kwabena Minta-Kando has admonished health workers in the country to religiously follow the ethics of their profession. Though he commended the health workers in the country for putting up their best despite the harsh economic conditions, he is, however, unhappy about the behavior of some health workers, especially nurses, who go contrary to the ethics of their profession. He warned nurses who are involved in the act to desist from the act because they will be made to face the full rigors of the law. Kwabena Minta-Kando gave the warning at Nadoli as part of his day's visit to the region.
At a meeting with staff and management of the Nadolu District Hospital and the Rapid Response Team, Acting Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Professor Samuel Kaba Akorie, wove a personal story about how he overcame meningitis some 50 years ago.
He lost some of his colleagues. There were no nurses, no hospital, no doctors, just a health post at the time we called them. His parents had to walk long distance, and 9 days later they had him registered in a clinic in Navrongo, because the father is from Navrongo. They believe in helping so much, and they poured so much into the child, hoping that one day he will be somebody else. And today that child is the one standing before you. as your acting director general.
He urged the staff to take a cue from his experience and put their best foot forward in their quest to delivering quality health care to the people.
Each one of us, if we put our part to save our children, to save our community, trust me, they are actually the future of this country.
Health Minister Kobina Menta Akando, shortly before he handed over drugs to help in the fight against the disease, commended health workers in the region for their commitment to duty and urged them to continue on that tangent to bring smiles to the faces of their patients. He however warned personnel who will go contrary to the ethics of the profession.
Let me also caution the few bad nuts amongst us, especially the way we handle our patients. We usually get these feedbacks that the patients go to the hospitals and they are shouted upon, they are insulted, and they are not handled well. I know most of you are fantastic people, professionals, but there are very few ones amongst us. Those of you who are fond of doing that, I beg of you, please stop it. Because going forward, the truth of the matter is that we will not countenance on that.
The health minister then paid a whistle-stop visit to the Lolo Queen of Peace Senior High School, where one of the students contracted the disease.
If you have, between 30 to 40 people in a classroom, it's still not very spacious. But what you need to know is that you've recorded a case in your school, and so you have to take the necessary precautionary measures. That is what is important. Put measures in place. If your dining hall is small, you can do it in batches. It's not raining. You can even decide to eat in the open. Okay, so put the measures in place. You know your situation best. If you need any advice, the medical doctors and the district directors are all here. They can assist you.
The Upper West region has so far recorded 94 suspected cases, 19 confirmed cases with 14 deaths. Reporting for the news, Rafik Salam, Nadoli.
Well, engineers from the Electricity Company of Ghana have successfully installed a high-capacity transformer at the production site of the Anwomaso bulk supply point to meet the current and future electricity demand in Greater Kumasi. The installation of the 145 megavolt amperes transformer to replace the existing 66 megavolt amperes transformer has been hailed as a right step to partly solve the current erratic power supply being experienced in the Ashanti region. General Manager of Ashanti SAP Transmission Engineer Peter Fletcher reviewed electricity supply in Aguna, Mampong, Bekwai, Kuntunasi, Ejiso, Efidiase, among others, will be impacted positively by the new installation. There is more in the following report.
The 66 MVA transformers at Anwomaso bulk supply point until now were sometimes stretched to their maximum loading capacity due to an increase in demand at peak times. The new 145 megavolt amperes transformer, which replaces one of the 66 MVA transformers, is to help improve supply capacity and reliability in the region, with electricity needs of residents of Greater Kumasi expected to be taken care of. Engineers from both Gridco and Electricity Company of Ghana have been working to lay all cables, energize and install the transformer to make it readily available for use. Officials of the ECG hope the installation of the new transformer will also allow easier transfer of customers from Ridge bulk supply point in case of fault management. General Manager of Ashanti SAP Transmission, Engineer Peter Fletcher, tells Joy News the installation of the new transformer will, to a large extent, partly help solve erratic power supply experienced in the Ashanti region.
We are upgrading a particular transformer from 66 MVA to 145 MVA at the Gridco end. Okay, now basically what this means is that we are increasing the capacity, electricity capacity in Kumasi to meet the current demand and future demand. To realize even in Kumasi, the developed areas, some structures are even springing up, storage buildings are coming up, and Kumasi as well is spreading. looking at the existing capacity we have, it was really tight. So this work we are doing is to increase the capacity at this particular BSP to meet the demand currently and future demands. But this is not to say that it will entirely eliminate pockets of outages. We are running a line where we have transformers, connecting points, poles and all that, where third parties are breaking our lines, knocking our poles down and all that. So those may still persist. But in terms of loading, where because of a fault a cost cannot be supplied, we can comfortably transfer. Where because of demand, we cannot even supply. Now I have enough capacity here to supply. So for that one, we assure the people of Kumasi that for transfer of flows due to faults and all that, you can comfortably do it.
Meanwhile, Engineer Fletcher is courting public support in dealing with third-party interference on ECG installations, which he says goes a long way to affect the power supply chain.
Last year, February, we had about 8 of our pylons being toppled at Ajiejiso. And this one, we had people vandalize, removing only the motor nuts. When these are calculated and everything switching forward. Last year also we had Bekwai, a car running into one of our pylons. So it means that immediately the supply to Bekwai was cut.
The Central Regional Minister is debunking claims that the Central Region is one of the poorest regions in the country. The Minister, Eduamoye, called Payne Ochre, emphatically shot down the claim and stated that the region is wealthy in its resources and people. Speaking at his maiden meeting with the staff of the Central Regional Coordinating Council, Mr. Eduamoye called on the people of the region and the media to project a good image of the region.
We were journalists during his first meeting with the staff of the Central Regional Coordinating Council. The Central Regional Minister, Honorable Eduamoye Payne Ochre, expressed disagreement at the idea that the Central Region is one of the poorest regions in Ghana. He tasked the people in the media to dispose the notion and focus instead on projecting the positive image of the region.
The notion that Central Region, I am vehemently opposing it. I'm not comfortable when I hear that. But I remember by 2020, a survey showed that we are the 4th richest region in Ghana. Why are we not projecting that and talking about something that existed decades ago? So we are rich. We are rich in the people we have. We are rich in the resources we have. We are rich by the grace of God. Central is rich. All that we need to do is to identify where our riches are, and that is the human resource. That's the job we want to create. That is the opportunities we have, the tourist opportunity we have, and the agriculture opportunity we have. We are going to harness them to ensure that we showcase the richness of Central Region. I need all of you on board. Let us do it together.
While addressing the staff of the Coordinating Council, the Minister implored them to collaborate with him in ensuring that administering the region runs smoothly.
I need your support. You cannot do that alone. Look at the number of people we met today. You understand? Some have been here for more than 20 years. And so I expect them to show me the way. They are the technocrats. They know what to do. So I think that until they are ready to support you, you cannot succeed. So I need them. This is a very important message. All those out there, please come on board. Let's work. Let's make Ghana a better place. Let's make Central Region a better place. Central Region is all we have. People talk about Central Region being a poor region. I don't know what surveys brought up that result, but I believe that if we put ourselves together, we can change the narrative as early as possible.
The acting coordinating director of the Central Regional Coordinating Council, Blaise Kwame Dake, while lauding the minister, assured him of the council's unwavering support to aid the minister in performing his duties. He also shared some words of advice with the staff.
Sabi orumam bizarre. This hours na ya wadwen de ebetna ho dem na ebi ananche eyende down na emre abade Kenya ho. You have to give off the best you can with passion. It may be is a passion ka ho a you show bia na yedwuma. To motivate yourself, self-motivation. Me just the honorable minister.
Reporting for Joy News, Abigail Nkrumah, Regional Coordinating Council, Cape Coast.
Well, it's that time of the year again. Red roses, chocolate, and love is in the air. But beyond the romance, Valentine's Day is also big business. This year, however, traders at La Paz Market say sales have been slow, blaming the rising cost of goods. My colleague Esther Nkrumah visited the market to find out more.
Valentine's Day, a time for love, gifts and special moment. But for some, this year feels different.
Yeah, but this year, I don't know. Yes, I don't know. Wait, tell me.
Anybody. Fatima isn't expecting any gifts this season. Not because she doesn't love the celebration, but because she recently ended her relationship.
What's the best Valentine's Day gift you received?
Wow, last year. Oh, wallahi.
What did you receive last year?
Hey, Telebed, the biggest one. Yeah, but this year, I don't know. Yes, I don't know. Wait, tell me.
So you haven't received anything from anybody. But are you hoping that somebody will give you something?
Yes, yeah, I'm sure. Inshallah, I'm sure. I really liked some paper. Oh, Pompia, I really like it.
Traders here in La Paz say sales have been slow, blaming the rising cost of goods, especially chocolate.
Sales in this day, almost 2 weeks in. Beside the Umbisapa.
We started our Valentine sales 2 weeks ago, but business has been quite slow. Many people come in to ask about prices, but only a few actually make a purchase. The number of inquiries far exceeds the number of sales. In previous years, prices were relatively lower, and some customers even paid for their items in advance. However, this year, prices have increased significantly, especially for chocolates.
We'll bring the full report, in the show. So just stay for the full report as we progress today on the AM show. But time for us to bring you the business update, and Sweetie Abochi is here with it.
In a very first story, tax consultant Francis Timor-Boy has backed calls for a removal of all forms of tax exemptions in the 2025 budget expected to be read in March. According to him, over the period, tax exemptions cost the country close to 4% GDP, as against a total tax collection of 14% GDP, which is far below what other developing countries are collecting. Speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Timor-Boy said there is a need to review the tax exemption laws to improve revenue mobilization.
The parliament that ended recently, you recall the amount of exemption that some companies were seeking. But over the period, our tax exemption alone contributed about close to 4% of our GDP. Meanwhile, total tax to GDP is just around 14%, far below countries that you are even supposed to be described as better. Botswana and then Chad are the companies that we are, within the ranges with. Of course, Nigeria is they have enough resources. So when it comes to tax to GDP ratio, we say that they have some amount of resources. Globally, you are supposed to get a minimum of 15%. We have never crossed that. It is in 2024 that, looking at the GRA report that they have released, I'm told that if you do the calculation, we have jumped to 17%, which is a very fantastic, measure. So we need to do more. We are not doing well when it comes to the tax collection that we have in Ghana. I mean, you cannot be compared with countries like Chad when it comes to your tax collection.
In other business news, Minister of Food and Agriculture, Eric Opoku, has indicated that government will launch the Feed Ghana campaign as a measure to increase food production in the country. He insists that as part of the initiative, government is engaging regional directors and ministers to ensure that every senior high school begins farming to aid in feeding. Speaking to the media after a meeting with some regional ministers, Agric Minister Eric Opoku said this is part of a broader strategy to ensure food sufficiency.
We are rolling out a multiple of strategies to achieve one target, food sufficiency. Under the Feed Ghana program, for the major program is the Feed Ghana program. We want to feed Ghana. Feed Ghana means we want to feed the people of Ghana as well as industries in Ghana. And so under the Feed Ghana, we have Feed the People and Feed the Industry. Under the Feed the People program, we are saying that we are going to encourage every Ghanaian, including you journalists, that wherever you live, you must have a home garden where you can plant some pepper, some tomato, some garden eggs, to reduce the cost of feeding in this country. So we are going to launch that big campaign, and we expect you to support us in that cause, to get every Ghanaian to take advantage of the rich soil that you have to plant something in the house. Then after that, we've also issued letters to all the secondary schools in this country. The letters have gone to our regional directors, and we are also engaging with all the regional ministers. We want every secondary school in Ghana.
Now let's take a look at what's happening on the commodity market. And that does it for the business update on the AM News Bulletin, but handing over back to Samuel Kojo Brace.
All right, thank you very much, Sutia Bochi. At least you bring some spice on the channel on Valentine's Day. You know. All right, so do stay with us. We're up next with a news review.
Happy Valentine's Day. In case you haven't noticed, my shirt has little, heart shapes in there. That's my way of celebrating Valentine's Day. Welcome aboard the news review segment. Kojo and I are here to steer the conversations, and our guest this morning in studio is Andrew Appiah Dankwa. He's a legal practitioner and spokesperson for Movements for Change. In the course of our conversation, when other guests join us, we introduce them to you. Good morning and welcome to the program, Appiah Dankwa.
Good morning, Shri. Happy Valentine's Day. I can see.
Yes, thank you. I just had to point it out, Kojo. And Kojo has little red stripes on his.
It appears better on TV.
Yeah, it does.
But I'm a nice boy on TV.
Kojo is pretending to be celebrating Valentine's Day.
Just say.
It's all pretending.
I was expecting some red in your outfit or something.
In fact, I have a red hat.
Well, that settles it.
My hat is red.
Right.
I'm an ardent Asante Kotoko supporter. Also.
Don't support the team, Papa.
Yeah.
Do you add Manchester to it, or which one?
No, me. I don't support teams that wear faded red shit.
Hey, let's get into your thoughts for us this morning.
Liverpool. Correct, right?
They will come for you. I'm telling you.
Who?
Manchester United.
No, I'll come for them.
No. But I mean, Liverpool crowd there. Okay, we would allow you because at least you also have some sort of achievement.
6 times. We've won it 6
times.
We've won it 6 times.
Champions League.
Yeah, 6 times.
No problem. But the proper red is us.
No, faded red.
Red Devils.
Faded.
Okay, gentlemen.
Today let's
go with
Kotoko.
Okay, let's settle on Kotoko and get into your thoughts more. There's so much happening in the country. Press conferences, committees being set up here and there. What are you reflecting on this morning?
Yeah, in fact, certainly I can't reflect beyond anything. In fact, sorry, let me wish your viewers a good one. I think I was caught up in this whole Valentine red business. So good morning to your lovely viewers. This week has been heavy for democracy. In fact, positively heavy in terms of the kind of discussions we've been having. As in, some of us have been advocating for a democracy that builds the right political culture, a culture that can sustain it, and one of it being a culture that holds political leadership accountable. I think over the past week, that sense of accountability has come to the fore with everything that has been happening. In my view, there are a lot of positives, a few negatives in terms of the procedural issues. But having said that, I think the issue that came to the fore for me, and I think it's worth reflecting over, is the debate that happened in Parliament, especially when certain members of the minority seemed to be making comments that seem to suggest that the political class, for want of a better word, owed it to themselves to protect each other. And one phrase that I feel very uncomfortable with a phrase that the minority in particular made, that today it could be you, tomorrow, and within the context of, in my view, within the context of the act that stated the accountability. So when you say it could be me today, tomorrow, or tomorrow it could be you, I think that it could be you abusing the powers that we give you to state the kind of discourse that's happening. So they will look at it. They will look at it from tomorrow. You could be arrested. You understand? But you don't have control over the consequences of your acts. What you have control over is your actions. And so what is it today? In my honest view, what they have control over is actions that will state whether you be arrested or you be called a fugitive or not, whether it's right, whether it's wrong. So for me, I think it's important that our politicians, the political class, realize the provisions of Article 1 of our Constitution. That says that they are going to use the powers that we give them, one, for our benefit, not for their benefit. So all the powers that they are wielding, those powers emanate from us. And the reason why we give them those powers is not because they are handsome or they are powerful, or no, we give them those powers for our benefit, and they must always reflect on that. And to that light, I must commend the majority speaker for his comments. On
majority leader, you mean?
Yeah, majority.
Majority. Thank you very much, majority leader. Yeah.
But on that score, weren't they referring to the raid on the house to say that, I mean, you don't barge into someone's home in that manner, even if he has wronged the state? Weren't they referring to that instead?
No. So you see, you communicate. You are the communication experts. You communicate. But for me, how I interpreted it, and I think they ought to have a broader understanding, taking into consideration the context of what was happening. We give you power not to act in impunity. We give you power not to advance your parochial interests. We give you power so you advance the collective agenda of the state. So that where steps are being taken to hold a holder of political power accountable, I don't think the right argument to making is just or give an impression that your focus is protecting the political class as against ensuring that you use the powers that we give you for the betterment of the purpose. Exactly. So, but having said that, I think this week has been a week of accountability. Okay. This week has been a week where the politicians suddenly realize that, listen, the day of reckoning will come. You understand? And we will have a discussion on the procedural issues, whether they are right, whether they are wrong. A lot of allegations have been made back and forth. The OSP himself is saying that he's not aware and he's not responsible for the Rambo-style raid. But I think the most critical thing, in my opinion, is the fact that at least the people of Ghana have spoken. That where we give power to you and where you use those powers, that day of reckoning will come.
Is it not a case of out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh? Because this is not new to us. In fact, let me take you just recently to those disparaging comments that someone made about Dr. Zaneta Rawlings. Yeah. And, you know, the narrative suggests that they know among themselves who actually said it. You can't tell me that someone just says something and all the parliamentarians there couldn't tell or hear who said it. But up till now, do we know anything, any punitive action? Because they protect themselves. So that argument the minority was making, is it not just out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaking, saying that this is what we do, we protect ourselves. So don't come for us this way, because tomorrow you'll be on the other side.
I think the Spirit is speaking through you. I share exactly that view, and it's very concerning. Because people we give our powers to also ought to reflect our values, the values of people. So they must understand the purpose for which those powers were granted them. Because I can't believe that an MP could say the kind of things he said to, and the fact that you really put the protected. They do. So for me, this week, I think there are so many issues, but I want to focus on the little steps we are taking towards making our politicians realize that in how they use their powers, they'll be held accountable, and that day of reckoning come. For me, we are watching them, because this is not the first time we've seen it when government change, and I hope it's not something to represent something, and that there'll be real commitment at exerting accountability.
All right. Let's usher in Osajefo Kwame Nkrumah Botsio, legal practitioner and General Secretary of the CPP into the conversation. Come on, Kroma, welcome.
Thank
you are the only one who is doing it properly.
Well, I see your hat.
No, you are doing properly.
And the man who carries the names of some two prominent
yes,
thank you.
All combined. You're a very powerful man. Well, I'm sure you've been following the news or stories that are making the airwaves. What would be your reflection this morning?
You know, there's a lot of things going on with regards to accountability. And today, I would just want to deviate a bit and say that in the spirit of the season, we should let love lead in all our deliberations. Let's love our country. Let's allow ourselves to be held accountable. At the same time, too, let's love our fellow man. Let's not try and go overboard because we have power now. Yeah. And those who used to have power too, they should try and be held accountable. And in that spirit, if you allow me to also wish a happy Valentine to all Ghanaians, we should let love lead, and also to the First Lady, the Vice President, the Chief Justice, the Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, my lovely wife, Afrakoma, my mother-in-law, and all of you here. I see you're all dressed, ready for your dates after this program.
Anyway.
So basically, I have been following it about the former minister being declared fugitive and all that. And I think in exercising it is good to exercise our powers. It is also good to be held accountable. But we should hold that delicate balance, because I heard people making arguments that in the past administration this was done to this person, cars were seized. No. It is not tit for tat. Otherwise, where does the cycle end?
Okay. Well, thank you. Let's get into the papers. Do you want to start, or should I?
Yes, I have the Daily Graphic newspaper, and it ties in with, there's a story here that talks about what we're discussing. The political class must hold itself accountable. That's according to the majority leader. You cited that. Committee probes recruitment into security agencies. Agriculture Ministry rolls out irrigation for wealth creation in 8 regions. That's my story for the day, but I'll leave it to you. And Car Power threatens shut down over $370 million debt. So 4 stories in the graphic news graphic. But let's start with, I think, the Agriculture Ministry. Now, this is a country where we've said agric is the backbone of our economy so many years ago. I read about the irrigation schemes that Nkrumah developed that, those were on paper. They were not able to implement all of them. But we haven't really done enough when it comes to irrigating, or turning our agriculture into one that is irrigation-fed rather than rain-fed. What do you make of this? And how do we ensure that we really get the best out of it, taking into cognizance the 1D, where the one village, one dam policy that the extra government.
I think we should look at the irrigation. Let's forget about the 1D, one dam.
How can we just forget about it?
No, I want to forget within the context of this discussion. In fact, agric is the backbone of human existence. As in, when you go further into history and you are analyzing human history, one of the most important revolutions ever had was the agric revolution. And then we also know how the Industrial Revolution aided or even expanded or boomed the ability of man to produce food for survival and also for the for industry. So I think agric being, or agric, the idea that agric ought to be the backbone of our economy of the country is beyond contestation. It's sad that for more than 2 generations of the existence of this country, we've limited agric to subsistence. And we've never managed to break the yoke of the business side of agric, because agric can also create jobs and create wealth.
Yeah,
you understand? And our inability to crack the code, for want of a better word, is our inability to find a way around the limitations of our seasons. You understand? Because of inability to irrigate largely the agri sector, you have issues where what's called producer in season, out of season. Yeah. What irrigation does is that it affords you the opportunity of growing
all year round.
You understand? So if the government has made it one of their priority areas, it is to be commended. I think the bigger issue is how do they intend to do it.
That is why I was asking in relation to the one village, one dam, because this one, he has tasked the regional ministers to look for 10,000 hectares of land.
Yeah.
So they are going to get it, and then they would ensure that they construct these dams. Yeah. But if we know our past, then it serves as a guide. So how do we ensure that we don't fall into the same corner?
So the reason we should forget was because I believe that it was a statement made to aid some people to get power. Absolutely no commitment. 8 years you can't.
Oh, but they paid money to some people to go and dig some places, and we thought they were constructing those dams.
And as I said, it was something to get power, no commitment. 8 years, no dam. As I said, OSP, he should look into OSP should look into it. But I don't want to. Kwame Nkrumah is a day of love. So,
yes.
So let me just respect OSP. Look there. But the question is how will government do this? Personally, I think it should be private sector driven. Government must find a way of incentivizing the private sector players in the agri space to explore these avenues. Government itself can also, as in create some dams. But for me, I feel that really it ought to be a private sector driven agenda, aided by government. Because if you allow government to handle it like it was, then it will be another case of doing something to represent something. Myself, I've attempted agri some years past, and I know that where there's a right incentive from government, serious people who are doing agri will always find a way of irrigating, but it's about the cost. It boils down to the financing and all. And so, if government can find a way of granting serious incentives, if government can fall on the PPP, you understand, then government, together with the private sector, can irrigate massively, and then we can explore, we can maximize the benefits of agri. But trust me, if you leave it to just government, you understand, if we think that it's just government that ought to irrigate, I'm very confident that it will be another case of the past 8 years. All what government needs to do is to create the right environment, use its fiscal power to create the right incentives, and allow private sector to capitalize on that, to then use irrigation as a means of blowing up the whole agri.
But Boto, I know of a private investor who has invested so much into constructing his own dam. Yeah. And he now has about, I think, 10,000 acres or so of rice. Yeah. And he says that, look, I'm not in a hurry. I mean, $60 million pumped into the whole setup. I have time to allow it to grow within the next 5 years. Taking it from where he left off, that we need to just allow the private sector to lead. Yeah. Should that be the focus? Because from this story, government is even looking for the land already. So it looks as though government is thinking about using the state funds into it. Yeah. But will you agree with him that government should probably rely or partner the private sector in doing this?
I agree with him perfectly. I agree with him. And I have a bit of experience. I know quite a few private individuals who are also practicing this kind of irrigation. I mean, some have dug boreholes on their mango farms and all that, and it's serving them very well. And I think the government should help them. When I was coming, I was listening to the program, and I heard Honorable Eric Opoku, the Agri Minister, talking about Feed Ghana, and how they're going to encourage the secondary schools. I mean, when we were in school, we went to the same school, our school farm was very, very active. And we could feed the school with a school farm. The school farm is non-existent. We don't have it anymore. There are a lot of other schools which have large tracts of land. For my national service, I taught at Jirapa Secondary School. And during the rainy season, I was amazed. As an Accra boy, some of my students, they used to, let's say all the students, they will come to class with their hoe and everything. And even the school itself was turned into a farm. When the rains came, and then when the harvest came, you'll be amazed. The harvest it blew my mind. There was so much food. The people were giving it away. And even when you wanted to buy, it was so cheap. And this is outside Accra. So I asked them, why don't you send some of these things to Accra? They said, transportation is a problem. The bad roads. So the food is already there. The land is already there. And I would commend them, former President Kufuor. That was a HIPIC era. Initially, I was against HIPIC. I was like, it's an embarrassment to be declared heavily indebted. But coincidentally, that was my national service here. And driving from Accra all the way to Jirapa, that time was about 17.5 hours because of the bad nature of the Bole Bamboy Road. I gradually, over those months, I could see what HIPIC was doing. I could see the dams that were built from Wa all the way to Jirapa through Nadoli and Kalio and all those places. It does work. I saw it firsthand in 2004. It did work in the Upper West region. It will work. The government should go according to the plan that they want to do. They should build the dams, but they should make sure they put it in the hands of the local people and give them the necessary tools to farm. It has been done before. I saw it in 2004. It can be done again. And then I think we have far better roads now, so we can have the food come to the local area. So it can be done. It can be done.
When you say it can be done, I remember a time, I didn't actually live through it, but I read about how, I think it was a Champon's time.
Yes.
We were so food sufficient that we could even export. Operation Feed Yourself, yes. That we could, I don't know how many of you lived through that. I wasn't around. As a young person living in this country today, sometimes I get surprised that in 2025, we're having conversations about how do we revive our Greek sector. Because we're coming from a place where it actually was done. And then, I don't know what happened, sort of a dip. And then here we are again, and in 8 years, one district, one factory, one dam, one village, whatever. And we don't really see those, policies and ideas coming to fruition. And I know that John Mahama has promised farmer services centers and all that, trying to revamp the agri sector. I think that we should actually go back to the drawing board. Go back and review what Ichampon did right. What caused us to dip, even after we made such huge successes, before we start talking about revamping anything. If we sit down and say we're going to just brainstorm and come up with new ideas, listen, you don't change the winning strategy. And there's no new idea, nothing new on this under the sun, I, for one, am excited that Deputy Minister Designate is someone who's actually a farmer, someone who actually understands the agri sector. So I'm just saying all this to make the point that it's not only about reviewing and asking for fine lands. The lands are there. We will find it. Go back to the drawing board. Go back and review what they did right, because we have it. History can show us what we did right. It's not about rhetorics and fine land and SHS. Do it.
For those of us who studied agri, because I did agri senior high school, I did senior secondary school, and then I went to the university to pursue agric as well. One thing that runs through, and we still talk about challenges now: poor road network, poor infrastructure, no storage, lack of irrigation. Same. We've spoken about this long ago. We have not been able to solve it. So maybe it's time we start to put action to the words we speak, because agric, like you say, I'm currently so involved in agric, and I see the monies that farmers, not subsistence, the large-scale farming, the monies people are making. If I tell you someone's net worth or the net income in a month from agric alone, you'll be shocked. So agric is like we call it the green gold. The potential agric has to create wealthy people in Ghana is huge. The only thing we need is the enabling environment, and that's what government should do. And I'm happy that they want to do this. I pray, like you said, that they will get the right way to do it. Is it private sector? Is it like afford it? But when you do it, who manages it? We are in a country where if it belongs to government, what's our manaze? So you see that we mismanage anything government anyhow. So once the minister wants to do this, I think it is great, because the reason why people are not getting enough money from agric is because you have to wait for the rains. The reason my company is making the money from agric is because we have irrigation systems. We are on the irrigated lands. If you go to Dawenya, I went to Dawenya and I was wow. I was like, wow. Big river, is that a river or lake? And it's feeding land there. People are growing crops all year round. So this can be the game changer. Like we saw with One Village, One Dam. If government can say that we are not going to pay lip service to agric any longer, then agric can help us solve these employment issues because one company can employ between 100 and 500 workers. Imagine we have 1,000 of such companies times 500 is how much? That's a lot, you know. So I pray that we are able to do it. And like you've all advised, I hope the minister is listening and he will take it to the...
Well, unfortunately, the minister was talking about involving the private sector. And he even specifically mentioned, he said, journalists, everybody is going to be assisted. Everybody wants to go into farming. And it seemed he was even veering into the arena of backyard farming, as in everybody should be able to... So I believe that they are going according to the Operation Feed Yourself blueprint.
I think the president mentioned it, that we would engage in home gardening.
Exactly.
And when they mentioned home gardening, there was one lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Aka. He was part of their manifesto committee on agriculture. And he is a trailblazer in home gardening. So when the president mentioned it, I was like,
and it's a good thing. I have a backyard garden. I mean, and it serves very well.
When you think about how we import tomatoes from Burkina Faso, sometimes it's so sad, because tomatoes will grow anywhere. In fact, if it's not intentional, you can just throw the seeds or the waste, and it will grow right behind you. But we import tomatoes. That's how serious it is.
And Ghana, sometimes you realize that even on buildings. Crops grow.
It's true.
So, tomatoes, pepper, you can see growing
on the wall.
Anyway.
So, let's see. But another story that is of interest to us is or should be of interest to us, is the car power threat to shut down over $317 million debt. Now, yesterday I slept in darkness for some time. It went over around 6 and came back around, I think, 11 p.m. or so. Now, the operators of car power ship located at Abuadze in the western region have notified the government that it will not be able to continue the supply of power if the debt owed its company is not settled immediately. The company's representative made this known at a meeting between the Minister of Energy and Green Transitions, John Abdullahi Janapo, and officials of the car power ship barge at the ministry in Accra last Monday. What do we need to do? How do we solve all of this?
The same issue. Interestingly, the problems in this country, take the agri sector, take energy sector, you take, in fact, almost every sector. The facts of the issues may be different, but the problem is one: lack of commitment, clear lack of commitment, clear lack of integrity. Because, like you were saying, in the agri issue, the issue isn't about we not knowing the problem. We all know the problem. In fact, we also know the solution.
Yeah, I agree.
The problem is, do we have the commitment to carry out? Because was it not sometime in 2018 where they did the energy sector recovery program? Very comprehensive program, as it outlined the problems, outlined solutions, and projected that if they carried it through by 2023, our energy sector will be economically viable. 2018. So why are we discussing these issues today? You get a picture. Listen, I heard the minister has spoken to them. They've had some payment terms. These are no long talk. The solutions, they should just go and take the energy sector recovery program and show a little bit of commitment, fidelity to the solutions that we all know. Yeah. So I've heard he's talking about privatizing the ECG, because the problem is one of financing. Every year, we are unable to collect up to about $180 million of electricity that has been sold to us. And you see, then government is being unfair to us, the private sector, because we pre-buy our electricity. It's not as if, so you said you were slept in darkness.
Yeah.
But I bet you have already paid for the electricity.
So, yes, I have.
So it's prepaid. So you pay for it before you use it. And so why are you not able to use it?
Because the company says government should compel ECG to clear the accumulated invoices presented to it immediately.
Yeah. Meanwhile, ECG takes our monies before they supply us the electricity. Yeah. So if you think about it, then there shouldn't be an issue. But we are not. It's not only the private sector who use the energy, the ministries, the agencies. They also use, and per the Energy Sector Recovery Program, in every year, out of the 180 million debts, the ministries, department agencies contribute 150 million. So it's the clear case of the government, once again, doing we the private people in. Yeah, understand? So listen, government, we get to say that they should always be mindful of Article 1 of our Constitution, that we give them powers for them to use for our benefit. But it seems Ghana, the government is stifling the progress of its people. You understand? And that was it. Or if you can take all the issues, and it's just one issue. The issue being one of commitment, one of lack of integrity. So I call on the new leadership. We are resetting Ghana. They should reset it also in terms of the commitment. We don't want any long talk. We all know what the problems are. And I think we fairly also know what the solutions are. They should just be committed to applying themselves, applying integrity, and keeping their mind on the purpose for which we give them the power. And just do it. You understand? So the Minister says he's talking with them. They've agreed on some payment terms. So don't be any energy crisis. I just pray that he's saying all the right things about the issue with the ECG, because that's the issue. We'll find a solution there that will ensure that energy sector comes with some form of financial viability ASAP. Because once the energy is gone, then what are we going to do?
Well, both on the part where ECG comes in, I'm aware government has started a stakeholder engagement into determining whether ECG should be privatized, and if it should, what form it should take. Can that solve the challenges? Because this company says, compel ECG to pay us. It means that ECG is the problem. If ECG had paid them, then they wouldn't be threatening of shutting down.
I think the privatization will work because we've practiced this model for a long time. We tried PDS to a certain extent. It didn't really work. PDS seemed to have a monopoly. All kinds of things happen. If you look at other jurisdictions in the UK and other places, they have a number of different private companies managing their electricity. And they seem to have a system that works well. So I think this privatization will work, especially as my brother said, 150 million out of the 180 million is the government sector itself. So if you have the government running everything, chasing them for that money will not be so effective. But if it's in the hands of a number of private sector operators, and not just one, as we had in PDS, you have a number of private sector operators, I'm sure it will work. And then it also comes back to the issue of accountability. Because sometimes we draw up the terms of settlement, once it's signed, we get some relief, and then we go and sleep. The accountability should be day to day. It's not a matter of waiting for things to collapse and then you come and do name and shame. In Ghana, when we say accountability, it's just about name and shame. This person has done, this person has done, you come and no. Accountability is what happens in the back office. You have your statistics, you have your graphs. Where are we with this? And you make it available to the public for us to know even how much you've paid. You know, there's there's lack of information on these things. So we are not able to have an academic and progressive conversation. It's always a political, acrimonious conversation. And that will not get us anywhere.
Okay.
But a lot of people have made very good contributions. On my way here, I was listening to the station, and there was one gentleman who's a tax expert, tax consultant. He was stating that we should look at the tax exemptions and we should try and cut down, because as high as 4% of GDP goes into tax exemptions. We should take a very, very close look at that. And also about cutting costs, because this is it 370 million?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's an issue of the money not being there. Other times it's an issue of the money coming and being mismanaged.
Or diverted.
Or diverted. You see? So,
and really, the shortfalls because of inflation and the rest. You know, we are collecting revenue in CDs, but we are buying fuel and other things in dollars. So that also, in fact, I think that's the biggest problem we have. Yeah.
But also under collection.
Yeah, that's
it. Yeah, and
massive under collection.
Losses.
Yes.
System losses. I was telling some people, in 2022, they quoted the system losses to be 2.4 billion. In 2023, 2.04 billion. Where we boldly report losses and nothing has been done to cure it.
Exactly.
Lack of commitment. I'm saying they know the problems.
But fortunately, with the direction His Excellency is going now, even as regards the independence celebrations, cutting down on it and saving 15 million Ghana cedis. Somebody will say, what is 15 million Ghana cedis compared to $270 million? But it's a lot of money that can make a difference. So I believe that there are good things ahead of us. I think privatizing it will work with the necessary accountability. It will work.
Okay. We have a lot of paper. I don't know how long we're going for. So let's do some. Well, let me get into the Ghanaian Times quickly, and then I'll come to you. Public expressed mixed reactions over cancellation of Grand Independence Day celebration. You were just talking about that. Government sets up committee to review security service recruitment to eliminate partisanship. And minority unhappy over growing trend of political witch hunt. Ghana faces imminent power crisis. That's the same story. Gapua threatens shutdown over $370 million debt. The public's reaction, mixed reaction over the cancellation of the Grand Independence Day celebration is an interesting one for me. I know that some people are unhappy because they're thinking about, it's also a great day for businesses. You know, when we go to the Independence Square, small and medium scale businesses, they have, they sell and offer some services that will be making some money. Students are looking forward to marching and all that. But the government's decision for the cancellation of grand observance of Ghana Independence Day anniversary has attracted various comments from the public. Minister of State in charge of government communication, I'm trying to look at some of the reactions. Others are worried that it will take away the unity and patriotism that the memorial event instilled in the people, particularly the youth. I don't think it takes anything out, but if that's, everyone is entitled to their opinion. If you look at the money involved in terms of what you were just saying, I think that it's important that if we say we are resetting, right now it's not about NDC and NPP. We are under the resetting Ghana agenda. That is what the current administration is practicing. So if this is how they cut down some costs, I'm all for it. And then government set up committee to review security service recruitment to eliminate partisanship. This is a story I want to throw to you, gentlemen, because we know that partisanship in our recruitment, in terms of security services, is a big deal. That story, they say, is on page 12, but somehow I can't find page 12. Right, let's move on to others. Here it is. Yeah. So a 7-member committee has been established to review recruitment processes in various security services, aiming to ensure fairness and transparency while eliminating partisanship political affiliations that have characterized past recruitment. And composed of seasoned professionals with extensive experience in security administration, public service, and legal experts, chaired by Mr. Yao Akrasi-Sapong. And the question I want to ask this morning is, can we indeed remove partisanship from our recruitment into security services? Is it doable?
In fact, you made reference to the champion days.
Yeah.
That during the champion days, we could farm, we could. Yes, when I think we are fairly older than 97 year old friends. This whole issue of recruitment into the agency and the skill to which it went to, in my view, came to the fore over the past 8 years. One of the biggest things that was done, to the extent that they became so confident and they were using it as a campaign message.
In fact, during the vetting, Apenyoma came to, was it Okujeto Ablakwa or Sam George, one of them, about how because I'm pressing you, the protocol. I mean, can we really say that there will be a time in this country where recruitment into security services will be partisan?
There was a time when it wasn't partisan. Really? There was a time when it wasn't partisan. You see, you can't take away 100% the non-partisan consideration. It's about legacy. In the old schools. So you have a situation where in the old schools, they always reserve about 5% of recruitment to old boys. So it's impossible to say that 100% don't be no partisan consideration. But it should be so minimal, as in the ratio of recruitment based on merit.
Exactly.
As against the protocol.
No, I was even going to say that even the one that is done through protocol should also be on merit.
Exactly.
Yes. Protocol anyway. But this person qualifies. It's not like he or she doesn't qualify, but because I have the protocol, I'm pushing it.
Exactly. Because over the past 8 years, that was it was the system became so depraved. And see, one fundamental problem that must also be dealt with. So people within are poised to have failed to create a system where jobs will be created. So there are no jobs in the system. And obviously when there are no jobs, there will be pressure from the practical people, from the people. And then you always find, so not just the security, but you go to GNPC, you go to Bank of Ghana, you go to these things, and the sheer numbers and their output is unbelievable. You understand? So yes, I think it's early days yet, but my confidence level so far as real leadership with this government is concerned, I wouldn't say it's up the roof, but it's really not because even just this discussion.
It's a bold.
Just this discussion that listen, we've won. We are a partisan. We are partisan. We've won. But listen, let's have a discussion on reducing the extent to which our recruitment are based on partisan consideration as against merit. That's a massive step. It's a massive step that we must all be interested in, especially in this reset mind. I understand. It's not just the security agencies. Let us create a culture that is based on merit. Because we are building a nation. You understand? As against, and so right now I have a situation where I was part of the people, it was during that time that we formed TESCON.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. As in my own brother Solomon Owusu was one of the people who were at the forefront of establishing TESCON.
Okay.
And yet 2-3 years ago, Solo and myself were asked by Alan to go represent him at the TESCON, and we couldn't believe it. Because when we were leading, when we were in TESCON in those days, it was just pure platform for patriotic discussion. But we went there, it was like a full-blown political rally. We couldn't believe it. The students, but why would the students, when they go to school, want to quickly join TESCON? Because they think that once they join TESCON, when their jobs are assured and they don't need to work hard, they don't need to prove themselves. We need a radical reset of our mentality. We need to make the people understand that, listen, things ought to be done on merit. We need to create a culture where we eschew or discourage mediocrity and push excellence. Because this is slot business. Slot. To extent that the MPs, during the MP, they had their coyones to be campaigning on slots. When I come, I'll give you slots. So, you understand. That kills meritocracy. It kills a pursuit of excellence and puts to the front mediocrity. So for me, I think it's a step in the right direction. It shouldn't just be the security agencies, but it should be all government agencies, so that together we build a people who will pursue excellence. As a who expect that where they are excellent, then based on their merit, they will get what is their due.
I think it should be the partisan recruitment should be banned totally. There shouldn't even be a quota. There shouldn't be a quota. Because when you have people, the security services is not like a secondary school or something. It's a very sensitive area. People can be victimized for speaking against
belonging to a certain
party. So it should be banned totally, and it should be codified. If there isn't any, I don't know the law governing it currently, but if there isn't any law against it, it should be codified that the recruitment into the security services should be based purely on merit. There should be no protocol involved. Maybe the only thing that you can look at aside merit is maybe regional balance, of sorts. That's the only thing. It's only regional balance. It should be banned totally. It should be codified so that there will not be this vague arena of protocol list. I mean, protocol list is necessary in some places. In a university, you can have lecturers being given some quota for their children or something, but this is a very sensitive area. It should be banned totally. That is the only solution. We should not
For me, I think the danger is that, once you're recruited based on partisan sympathies or affiliations, you are grateful to those who put you there. Therefore, when they come calling, you may just have to acquiesce to their demands because they put you there. Yeah. And then before you realize, if someone is evil enough, they can weaponize the security services because they put you there. And they say, get up, go and arrest this man. You have no choice than to go.
But that's the goal behind the thing they do, right? Yeah. That will push our men in there. Mm-hmm. And our men, once they are men and women, they do our bidding.
That's it.
When the time comes. Yeah. So, I agree that we should make sure that we ban it. But maybe the regional thing could be the way to go.
Yes.
So in terms of maybe doing recruitment, you say that Western region, you are entitled to say 10, Central 10, Greater Accra, or maybe it could be on the size of the region. Greater Accra, you can say 10.
Yeah, of course.
So Greater Accra will
it's a smaller,
plenty that. So Greater Accra can go like 50, you know. And then we put some standards. So it's also about standardization, right?
Yeah.
What kind of, character or what will qualify you into the security service? Yeah. First, we knew that height was one.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have a certain height, you were out. And that's why some of us didn't think about the military. Because we were taught that, Charlie, giants, the giants that go there.
Yeah.
So maybe we should start standardizing. So you pick it and know that, well, I have this, but I don't have that. I don't have that. Then when you apply, they can show it to you that, well, you don't have all the criteria, so you are disqualified.
You check yourself.
Exactly. But if you don't have it, and now it is left to somebody, an officer, who is supposed to determine who qualifies, then you leave the playing field uneven.
Yeah.
Such that I don't know whether I can get it. So I go and see this big man. Can you push me into the army? If this big man says, okay, I'll push you, and he takes me in there, he took me there. So he becomes the guy that I do favors for. Yeah. So I think that there has to be standards. It has to be communicated to us. Do you know the criteria for selecting people?
No, I don't know.
Do you know?
No.
Do you know? If all of us around this table don't know, then there's something wrong.
Maybe because we haven't gone to look for it. No. I mean, maybe the information is out there.
But why? People apply.
Yeah.
So it should be public knowledge. Yeah. Like I'm saying, when we were growing up, we were told that as for military, it should be of a certain height. So it's the height I knew.
Yeah.
So height and possibly your educational background.
Yeah.
But are there things that someone who is willing to join the military should know? Is it the cadet corps that probably you should be a member of when you are in the senior high school or in the university? Because the universities also have security, those kind of things. Then you know that, okay, if I want to be a member of the security force, I should start preparing from this level. There were people I knew in the university who were part of the security of their halls. When I see them, I saw them in the military, I was like, oh, now these guys, they began long ago. And these were tall guys, well built. So they are, So if I see them there, I won't have any qualms. But I think we should standardize it.
Yeah, I think Bishop was in the cadet.
No, I wasn't.
Well, I'll have you know that I was a cadet commander at some point.
Wow.
Yeah, so time flies.
And maybe we can even look at the cadets in the school and recruit from there. Because they would have had the basic training. Then you build on. Yeah. Because at that level, senior high school and university, the cadet is not politicized.
No, it's not.
It is out of your love
interest
for the thing and interest. So you go into it. So the security forces can go there and recruit from there.
Right.
But we are not security persons.
Yeah. In fact, we have two lawyers here. So I want you to take a bite at this Ken Oforiatta, OSP, Attorney General, NPP argument, NDC argument, Parliament, all of it. I'm sure you followed because you are interested. This is your field. Is the OSP, the optics of what's the OSP doing? Is it within the rights of those who think that it's a political witch hunt to think that way? Let me start with you, Pierre Dankwa. The optics of how everything is happening and unfolding, the press conference, the letters that the lawyers wrote, the responses saying that he has no intention of returning to jurisdiction. Now we know that he may actually be undergoing some surgery, and the rhetoric from the NPP and the NDC, all of it. Help us make sense of it.
Yeah, so once again, it's the politicians playing politics with fundamental issues that one is on accountability. Sadly, because I recall that when the previous regime, the previous president was pushing for this OSP idea, one of the arguments made why we need an OSP was to create a body who cannot be influenced by the politicians. That was the idea. But I find it interesting and very worrying that the offenses for which the OSP purportedly has called
a fugitive of justice.
Well, offenses that were done about 3 or 2 years ago. So why didn't he call him? Why didn't he attempt it 2 or 3 years ago?
This is you, a lawyer, asking this question.
Yeah, because one of the fundamental arguments made for why we needed an OSP was so that we have a body that would investigate and prosecute corruption-related issues devoid of any political influence.
Yeah.
And strangely, the OSP knew all these things that were happening. He did not have the courage to pursue Ken under the previous regime. And suddenly a new regime comes, and the OSP has the courage. He can organize a press conference.
Make an educated guess and tell us.
I heard him say that even if his government were in power, they would have gone after him. He said,
but his government was in power. He had like 2 years.
He said he was investigating.
Come on. Even if he had 2 years to prove it.
See what he did there.
No, he had 2 years. He had 2 years. You understand?
Right.
So, and also, I know they are making arguments, but right now, the biggest problem we are going to have. We have an opposition, the biggest opposition party. We are both in opposition, but we are not, to be fair, we are not the biggest opposition.
Yeah.
The biggest opposition is the NPP. But you have a situation where the biggest opposition group has absolutely no credibility, have absolutely no moral grounds to stand on to be making the argument they are making.
They don't?
They do not, because you see...
Even raiding the home of the former finance minister in his absence.
So I'm not saying whether the raiding is right or wrong. I'm talking about they having the moral authority to grant any form of opposition. You see, because the party is not the government. We are not running a parliamentary system. We are running a presidential system. So the party is not the government. And contrary to how they think, where the government is not doing, or the government that you have sponsored, thinking that you sponsor somebody to be president, thinking that that person is going to deliver a governance system which aligns to your values. Mm-hmm. Now, clearly, Nanado came and gave a governance which was adverse to the known values and principles of the NPP. Mm-hmm. And the NPP kept quiet. They couldn't talk. They were moving. As in, it was a case of the empress new cloth. So they see the president and, how am I doing? Like, oh, you're doing fine. No, he was naked. And so, what moral authority do they have now?
Are you sure that the NPP could not tell former president to compare to his face?
Oh, they could not. So you are failer than me.
But lawyer, in terms of how they raided his home, let's base on that. I mean, you are a lawyer. So, I'm currently watching videos of how the whole thing was done. And I'm seeing somebody they describe as, someone, in the image looks like Richard Jakpa. We've heard that name. What locus did he have in the current scheme of things I mean, raid the home the way he did.
To even appear there.
Yeah. So it's not right. So we can criticize. I can criticize. Busu can criticize. I'm saying that the NPP do not have the moral authority.
Yeah, but why do you want to take that away from them? That they don't have the moral authority or moral grounds to even argue that was wrong.
It's not about me taking away from them, because everything you do, you need some legitimacy. You need the people accepting. Okay. And I'm talking as the people, one of the people. Okay. You understand? Because we are the people. Okay. Beyond we being politicians, we're also the people. And you glean the mood in town. You understand? And people, the feeling in town is that they don't want to listen to the NPP. Because we've seen their governance, we've seen the president, we saw their views when similar things were happening. So if, let's say, it happened last year and I couldn't speak about it or I did not criticize it, and then it happens today and I cannot criticize it, sweetie, how are you going to take it? Yes. And that's the biggest problem we are going to face. Having said that, we have been preaching about accountability, but the purpose of that accountability, that culture, is to guarantee for us the rule of law. So in how we pursue and want to hold people accountable, we should not lose fact of the rule of law. And so the fact that you want to pursue somebody because you think that wrong has been done to the country does not justify why you should sidestep the rule of law and its principles to this him. So I'll call the OSP saying that he didn't organize it and that he thought it was staged. You understand? I trust his words. What is probably happening is that the politicians, so certain people within the NDC felt that there's a time probably because we saw Jakpa, the same Jakpa, and so it's for the president to put his foot down. And unlike the NPP, you have the majority leader condemning and apologizing. That is real leadership. You understand? And so let's say if they lose power, he will have the right, the moral right, to criticize when something similar is happening.
Right.
But just to enter, my brother will have his take on it. We are calling for the right political culture because we believe that that's the only way in which we can sustain democracy. And that right political culture will only sustain democracy because that right political culture will sustain for us the rule of law. That's the only way in which the benefits of democracy can be guaranteed. So please, yes, hold people accountable. Let the day of reckoning come, but do not sidestep the rule of law in that agenda.
Thank you. Kwame Nkrumah.
For lack of time, I'll continue from where he ended about the.
So you agree with everything about the NPP not having the moral grounds to even make a counter argument?
When it comes to legal issues,
I
like to put on my legal cap and then put everything aside. Going strictly legal, I think they have a right to speak out.
Yes.
They have a right to speak out. Because as the adage goes, the thief is the one who has been caught. Yeah. We have so many laws.
And they say you are innocent until
exactly. Even if you have bushes in front of your house, it is an offense. You understand me? So if somebody has been found wanting, go through the legal processes. As far as I know, you can only declare somebody wanted or a fugitive if a court of law has issued either an absconding warrant, a bench warrant, or a warrant of arrest. I have not heard that anything like that has been done, unless the OSP Act gives him that powers. As far as I know...
They only said he's a suspect.
He's a suspect.
In those cases.
Exactly. So you cannot declare him if the court has not issued that. And also, I had heard about the minister's health issues, even when they were in power.
Yes.
There were times when he wouldn't appear in parliament, and apparently he was not feeling well. I've been following the case closely. I believe that eventually he will submit himself. But if apparently he's in a clinic...
Where's that confidence coming from?
Well, he was in the country up till, is it 2nd January? 2nd January. Almost a month after NPP lost the election. I cannot prejudge the case, but I believe that if indeed somebody cannot justify a certain situation to an extent, because in law, you cannot always have somebody being 100% innocent or 100% guilty. There's always an explanation somewhere. That is why you go through. Doubt and all that's why you go through trial. I have heard I've been following stories. Apparently, he's in one of these big hospitals outside the country. And his lawyers wrote that he's due for some surgery and he'll come after the surgery. And I also heard from other circles that he said he does not know when he will.
That's what the OSP.
Yeah, indefinitely. For the way it was indefinitely.
You know.
And no intention to return to their jurisdiction.
Exactly.
No, that interpretation was by the OSP based on the indefinite that he said.
Yeah.
But now the MPP is also telling us that he had communicated that he will be back, I think in March.
Oh, forget
March something.
No,
I don't believe that one.
No, so do you believe I'm
The thing is, I am coming from a totally legal standpoint, putting aside politics and everything. Even in court, if your client is absent, you have to bring a medical report at times. And it's up to the court to either accept the medical report or to do further investigations. If the medical report has been submitted to the OSP, and I don't want to disclose the name of the clinic.
To be frank, he says it is not a report, it is a medical letter.
Exactly. Yeah. So they have the power to do further investigation. The name of the clinic and the country is in the media.
The mayor.
And I know it's a very well-known and well-respected institution who will not try and shield anybody. Right to them. Is this the person's of course, medical information, there's a limit to how much you can release. But this is such a delicate topic that if OSP writes to them, is it true? What is his condition? What is the assessment? Just do that. You don't need to come out and, you don't need to come out and be declaring him.
So are you saying, the first question I posed to Apia Dankwa, that the optics of what we are seeing right now, so those who think it's a political witch hunt, are they within their rights, based on how everything is unfolding, to think that it's just a political witch hunt?
Regarding that one, I would side with my brother too, because I believe that the OSP, as he said, may have been investigating. You see, even though I think he was written to 20-something January, we have to be balanced. We have to give them both sides, both the Foriata side and the OSP side, the benefit of the doubt. You see, I'm sure maybe he may have been investigated.
Oh, yeah.
And knowing the stature of Foriata and the NPP, even some of the NPP parliamentarians, including our own classmate Apia Kubi, Honorable, tried to have him removed.
Yeah.
And it did not work. Yeah. He's a big fish in the NPP. So the OSP probably balanced wisdom with legality and said, let's see, let me go slowly. I'm just being the devil's advocate. So let's give both sides the benefits of that, because that is what is done when it comes to legal matters. You don't really prejudge. You look at the best case scenario, the worst case scenario. You put everything together. In the end, everything will unfold. Law is about evidence.
Yeah,
it's about documents. The he said, she said. At the end, when it goes to court, it will not fly.
So is it witch hunting or it's not witch hunting? It's not witch hunting. So is it witch hunting or it's not witch hunting?
As for witch hunting, as for politics, even internal politics, it happens. In the clamor for power and for people to consolidate their power, they may end up going overboard in pursuing virtuous ventures. If they suspect something untoward, it is good to call him to question. But when it goes overboard, it may look like witch hunting. I would not say it is witch hunting.
Okay, that's fair.
But it is the end in itself is a virtuous end, because we should all be held accountable wherever we are. But the means that is being used makes it look like a witch hunt, but I don't think it is.
So the optics of it looks like it is.
It is true.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have, but let's quickly run through just the headlines of your papers and then we go. I have the news center, the same story. Scott's discharges Kwesi Nyantage. Oh, we didn't get a bite of that. Over number 12 expose, apparently because a nurse failed to appear in court. OSP's fugitive tag on Foriata unreasonable. Internal memo under NPP recommended dropping Dr. Siama charges, according to Dr. Ayeni. And Apenyo Markin supports cholera fight with 100,000 Ghana cedis donation. Stories on the front page of the Ghanaian publisher.
It says, it's Siama unfit for BOG. Says CDM, charges Mahama to terminate his appointment. And then history will judge NDC, minority slum state-sponsored intimidation. A Futu Traditional Council launches 2025 Abacha. A majority apologizes over attack on Ken Ofori.
Thank you. And then the custodian.
Remove new BOG governor, CDM to Mahama. Ayara apologizes to Ken over house raid. Bamian speaks at Harvard University today. Minority slums, state-sponsored persecutions.
Okay, thank you. You have something else with you?
That's fine.
Right, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Those who joined us, Andrew Apia Dankwa is a legal practitioner and spokesperson for the Movement for Change, Afafranto. We're missing the yellow all over. And then Kwame Nkrumah Botsio is also a legal practitioner and general secretary of the CPP. Please stay because sports comes up next on the AM show.
Welcome back to the AM show here on the Joy News channel. Now, the Mahama government is set to organize a National Education Forum, a platform to critically analyze the current education system of Ghana and propose solutions to address the gaps. This morning, we do a throwback focusing on how far we have come with Ghana's education sector, what was done, what real enhancement and reviews are needed, if there is any. To do this, we have the privilege of having in the studio former minister, the immediate past Minister of Education, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, who has been at the forefront of major decisions in our quest for quality education in the country. Doc, pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for that.
As all as well.
Always well.
Okay.
Always great.
Okay. Now, if you look back, what do you make of your time at the Ministry of Education?
Let me first of all say a very good morning and a happy birthday to all your viewing and listening audience. And I don't know why you invited me on Valentine's Day of all days in the whole year. This is the day you invited me.
And it's good you have the red tie on too.
I always do the red. So I just want to first of all thank God for giving me the opportunity to serve my nation.
Okay.
8 years at the Ministry of Education, and also to thank the former president, Nana Danko Akufo-Addo, for inviting me to be part of his government. It was a great opportunity, a wonderful opportunity to serve my nation. About 3 days ago, I went to a school in my constituency. The moment I went there, they told me that morning, students were asked to write who has inspired, a story of who has inspired them.
Okay.
There's a student by name, his first name is also very unique, called Daiwell.
Okay, wow.
Daiwell had written that the person who inspires him the most is Dr. Yao Osei Educhum.
Oh, okay.
Little did she know that I was going to show up at the school. So when I was there, I said, yeah, Daiwell was writing about you.
That's a beautiful coincidence.
Yeah, beautiful coincidence. They showed me what she had written.
Okay.
And it really touched me to know that a child that you don't know will just feel like you have inspired me to be a great individual. And one day I want to be like you. This is what I take away from my work at the ministry, that there are children across the country who feels inspired like Daiwell. And there are others around the country who have grown up at places with less means and see my story of how I grew up and became who I had become, to feel inspired that one day they can even do more than what Dr. Yao Osei Educhum has done. So when I look back at those moments where you are making an impact on the lives of many people. Many people see hope through your story. And that to me is the most significant thing, apart from all the other things that we may have done. The bottom line is that somebody like Daiwell feels that you have inspired me. And that to me is the most important thing.
Okay. So, I mean, yes, a lot of people, I'm sure, are inspired like that will. But looking back, what would you say were your achievements as a Minister of Education? When you came in, we all heard what you said. You wanted to make education, I mean, the way you had seen it in the America. I mean, you had run a school there, and you thought that education could be made more practical than it is. What would you say were your biggest achievement as a minister?
I would say that when I became Minister for Education, I was invited by Harvard University. They have a program that guides and mentors education ministers. And the first workshop, they asked all of us to create what's called a legacy statement. My legacy statement was to make Ghana the best nation in STEM education, one of the best in the world in STEM education. And when I reflect upon the legacy statement that I shared with the University of Harvard and see that we're able to do it. You see, STEM has always been something that you hear presidents talked about, the 60-40, famous 60-40 ratio of 60% of students at the tertiary in the STEM-related fields and 40% in the humanities. And unfortunately, it had been, for the most part, lip service. Because I don't seem to understand how you have about 14% of your students in the high school enrolled in science. But when they get to the university, you expect 60% of them to become science-related students. I mean, it was just a talk. So we had to begin to take a look at what is going on around the world. And of course, I always say I'm one of the luckiest education ministers in the world, having taught in the classroom, got an opportunity to develop schools in America, that kind of experience, and doing a PhD in education policy and administration. So what I, through under the leadership of the president, looked at was STEM education, the key to the future of Ghana's transformation. Not just an education, but we are talking about how does education change the fortunes of your country. So if your sense of urgency is the transformation of Ghana, and you happen to be the education minister, you are looking at what are the gaps. Because in education, you have to look at access, you have to look at the quality of the education system, and then look at the relevance of the education system. When the education system is not relevant to the socio-economic transformation of your country, it's education to nowhere. All the students can pass the exams and people jubilate that their children have passed the exam. But if you happen to be the education minister, you are concerned about, am I producing the people that can really champion transformation of Ghana? So that is what led us to STEM education. The emphasis on STEM was to make sure that in this 21st century, in this fourth industrial revolution, are we going to create a competitive economy? Are we really going to change the fortunes of Ghana? So when you hear STEM education, it's not just children coming to school. When you see them doing robotics, you see them flying drones, you see them doing things that we've never done before. It's creating the next generation workforce in the 21st century, in the fourth industrial revolution, who will lead the transformation of Ghana. And that was what my focus on about. If you look at Vietnam, Vietnam is making great strides in industrialization.
Okay.
Now, Vietnam has 93 million population. They produce 100,000 engineers every year. Now, Vietnam is the toast of East Asia. Every industrial giants are flocking to Vietnam. In fact, the last time I checked, Samsung has its largest manufacturing plant anywhere in the world, in Vietnam.
Okay.
Now, Ghana, with over 30 million population, in a very good year has 7,000 engineers graduating. If you look ratio and proportion, we should be doing over 30,000.
Engineers?
Yes. Because engineering have so many fields. Software engineering.
Let me take you back to the point about STEM. Now, when you refer to the man who went to, the Chinese leader who went to Japan and came back to China, he tackled the teachers, right? Because he said he wanted to change how it is done. But I didn't see you do much of...
Maybe you didn't hear me talk about it.
Okay.
I'm so happy to tell you that the current Director General of Ghana Education Service, Professor Davis, he was one person that I tasked to develop a bachelor's degree in STEM education at University of Cape Coast, and he did.
Okay.
So he put it together, brought it to me for a review. He had done a review with all his professors, and today I'm happy that Cape Coast has submitted, at the time I was leaving, they have submitted their curricula for training of STEM teachers to GTech. We also have 2 STEM colleges of education that were building at the time I was leaving, one at Karaga and one at Tepa in Ashanti region. And this was to train the next generation of STEM teachers in Ghana. So yes, we were seriously looking at how do you train. And also, we have a number of projects that were ongoing.
But I thought that would have been your first focus, to train the teachers to handle the...
You see, when you are Ghana, you don't have a lot of time. Okay. You do the 2 at the same time. So for example, there were teachers who were being trained through Televic, which was a funding regime that we have from Belgium. They were training teachers across the country. TTEL, which is funded through MasterCard Foundation, was also training teachers across the country. So teachers who are now in their jobs currently were being trained. But in addition to that, we needed to lay a strong foundation to bring in more, to train them so that they can really do the job that they were supposed to do.
Okay. All right. So how many STEM schools do we have now?
We have the freestanding new ones that we built were about, I think, 11 of them at the time that I was leaving office. But we also have STEM centers.
Completed.
Yes.
And
we also have
ready to be used.
Ready to be used.
Okay.
But like Abomosu in Eastern Region, Kwase in Bono, Bosomtwe Girls, the ones, we have other ones like Pasempe in the Northeast. So there are a number of them across the country. But we also have STEM centers in existing schools, like Goso, for example, has one that was about to be operationalized. So when you do the STEM center, you set up a center with all the equipment. Accra High has one, which had been operationalized even about 2 years ago.
Okay.
It had all the STEM tools and equipment, and students at Accra High, as I speak with you, can take a course in engineering at the high school level. Okay. And the one unique thing about the STEM centers is the fact that we offer opportunity for students in the neighborhood. That's what you see here. For students in the neighborhood to come to the center and do software programming, and they were doing Scratch and other programs there. So it's not just for the high school students, but I wanted to create that pipeline really from the lower levels all the way running to the high school. So the STEM centers were not just for the high school, but also for the entire neighborhood of students who come there and do Scratch and other. So when you look at that, it's not just, these are the high school students who are doing robotics and doing engineering and all that, but also the local students from the busy schools get the opportunity to come here. So there was a combination of the two, that you have new schools being built, but also have STEM being infused into existing schools. So if you go to those existing schools, like engineering center that we did in partnership with the old boys of Presec. If you go to, they have an engineering block which we were about to operationalize, and then we left government. But so I hope that there will be a continuation so that if you go to Presec, you can start engineering at the high school level. You don't want to wait till you go to the university. You catch them young. They get excited. So they don't apply to medicine, and if they don't get in, then they go to engineering. If you get a student who is really, really excited about engineering from high school, he will become a better engineer than the person who didn't want to do engineering, but because he didn't get medicine, then he found himself in engineering. One of the things talking about that I'm excited about is what we were able to create called a pre-engineering program. You see, when I talk about the 60-40, and you don't have enough students who have done science, That means you can never get to the 60-40 unless you bring some innovation to the process. So what we did, which was profound, was that we established a pre-engineering program. These are for students who did not do science in high school but are desirous of becoming engineers. So what you do with that is that they go to, there are 2 universities that offer that. Now others are joining in, UMatt and Pentecost University. We incentivize them through a grant program to do it. So when you go to UMatt, this year, for example, I'm told there was a high demand for the pre-engineering. They accepted only 300 students from the large pool that applied. And the cutoff point was aggregate 9. So they have students with 6, A1, 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 going to do pre-engineering from general arts, from visual arts, from home economics. All of them are moving. And these are students who are determined to become engineers. So it was my idea that don't block these students from getting to the engineering space. They may have not been counseled well at the high school. They got into general arts, they got into visual arts, they got into home economics. Don't stop them if they have the desire, because these are the people who become your innovators. So we open the floodgates of engineering to this new group of students who are desirous but did not do science. And then they have a rigorous 1-year program. And in this 1-year program, they are doing physics, they are doing chemistry, they are doing mathematics, and introduction to engineering. At the end of the year, if they pass the examinations set by the university, then they get a chance to enroll in level 100 engineering, whether it's civil engineering, mechanical engineering, computer engineering, any aspect of engineering, they get the opportunity to enter that space. The whole idea is that for us to transform our nation, we have to begin to take a look at what other nations did and do same so that we can get to that destination.
So glad that we're talking about STEM. One of the things that you were doing, which was going to aid STEM, was the One Student, One Tablet initiative.
Yes.
But how did that end? The students complained that they didn't get it.
Oh, no, it's not true. They're going very well. In fact, when I visited my school in the constituency, Bosomtwe Girls, they had just received their tablet and they were being trained by experts from
school, so they will be giving professional.
No, it's across the country. It's across the country. All first-year students have been prioritized because first-year students have e-books, and the e-books have been downloaded onto the tablets.
When did this project start?
It started like 6 months before we left office, the distribution, and it's continuing. As I speak with you, distribution is going on.
So how many?
It has not been stopped.
Schools had it before you left office?
When I left, I think there were about 200 to 300 schools that have received it.
Okay.
Yeah, but now it's ongoing.
So the cross-check from the schools will get to know?
Oh, no, you get to know. No, if you cross-check with the minister, you get to know. It's ongoing. It's going all over the place because, you see, we have a new curriculum that is being implemented now, and we were fortunate to have been given funding from MasterCard Foundation to develop the books for the students. And these are all e-books. So without the tablets, they are going to be hampered. So the distribution is ongoing. It's going very well. And the whole idea is that students are also, teachers are being trained to use AI assessment portals.
Okay.
What that means is that when the student writes an essay, it can be graded for them with AI. So assessment is instant.
Okay.
And you have teachers getting feedback themselves and giving feedback to the students through the assessment portal.
But they also had issues with their laptops.
You see, these laptops, they have issues. I'm not sure in terms of what the issues were, because I know there was a system in place for repairs to be done if there's a breakdown. But every teacher got their laptop before we left.
Every teacher?
Every teacher, yes.
Got his own laptop?
Yes. You can check in with the unions.
Every single teacher?
Every one of them. You can check in. You can check in with them and it will be confirmed that everyone got it. So the most important thing for me is that there's now training for the teachers who are going to be teaching using these devices at the high school level. And the training is ongoing. Many places you go in, even GES, as I speak with you, have people going out throughout the country to see how things are going. I don't want to be speaking for them. I'm no longer there. So I don't want to go into that space. Okay. I think we leave that discussion to the current administration instead of preempting what they are doing.
But the teachers also spoke about the quality of the laptop. How much did one laptop cost?
No, let me tell you. I don't have that information. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I don't have that. If you talk to GS, they'll be able to give you more information on that.
But in terms of the quality of the laptop too?
No, I tell you this. I'm no longer the minister. Don't put me in a situation where I'm talking for a ministry that I no longer so pretend over. I thought we were coming here to talk about what we did. And
exactly. But this was something you did.
What I did, at the time I was leaving, they had the laptops and it was working. Okay. So if after I left, there's something, I don't want to be speaking for it. I don't think it's fair.
Okay. All right. One would think that, that was a great achievement. So we're looking at, once we are getting complaint of the quality of laptops, and of course...
No, you can always follow up. So far as I'm concerned, the laptops were given and they were working when I was leaving. If after I left, there are issues, I will not be a good person to speak to it.
Were there guarantees or warranties to help them?
Of course. Any project like that, you have warranties.
Okay. All right. Now, there's been a lot of controversies about the exact number of people who benefited from that wonderful policy. I always say it's wonderful because if I had not gotten World Vision to pay my school fees, I would not have been able to finish basic, finish SS before I even go to the university. So I liked it. But now, as to the exact number of students who benefited, we don't know because there's different figures out there. You are the minister. You were the minister. How many students benefited?
I think we have issued a statement on this, but just for the benefit of your audience and yourself, you haven't seen it. The first time this issue came up was through Ministry of Finance. Their accounting for expenditure indicated the number in terms of first year how much they funded, the second year how many students they funded, the third year how many students they funded. So arithmetically, they were looking at how many funding units that they had done from a certain period to a certain period. And that arithmetic is what gave the 5.7 figure coming from the budget reading on the floor of Parliament. Okay. But you should also know that when you are dealing with not the funding units, but you are dealing with beneficiaries, if you are not doing a one-year program, people are benefiting a number of times in order for them to be fully classified as beneficiaries. Okay. So if you are counting the funding units and you are saying, okay, in our budget, 2017, we funded 360,000. 2018, we funded 700,000. That is in the budget. Then you go to the third year and say, in the third year, the number increased to, let's say, 1.1 million. So 300, 700, 1.1, this is the total number of funding units.
Okay.
However, when you do that, you are presuming that it's a one-time funding. So if you were dealing with graduate students who are going to university for 1 year, you'll be right.
Okay.
Because you fund them once and they are gone. You fund them once and you don't repeat. But if you do calculation based on a high school program that way, you are literally doing a double counting.
Okay.
Because the student who benefited first year that you funded at 360,000, he's included in your second year 700. And then the 700 is then included in your third year 1.1. So the best thing to do, instead of adding the 360, the 700, the 1, is to take the 1.1.
Okay.
Because that is cumulative.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is what we realized that the Ministry of Finance had done. And in fact, it was even before we saw it, some other CSOs had gone to check because they thought something fishy was taking place. That if you are adding this and adding this and adding, so are you receiving funding for the double counting? or are you receiving funding for the third year number? So when those calculations were done, we realized that the funding in terms of beneficiaries should be based on the third year number, and that you should not be counting the first year and second year, even though it sits on your books. Even though it sits on your books at the finance ministry, that this was the number that you funded, the number that you funded, the number you funded. So you can use that for your calculation. Okay. But it should not define the number in terms of ultimate beneficiaries. Okay. So it was this arithmetic error that showed up, that then found expression at the ministry. But quickly, after some time, we called and said, no, something is going on here. So if you look at the numbers, then when we did the reconciliation, that is when we were able to see that, oh, this was an arithmetic error. So even in the 2024 budget, they then listed the numbers breakdown so that everybody will see that it's not as if the education ministry was funded based on this number and the actual number was this. So if you go, the ministry numbers will tell you that there was nothing untoward. It wasn't any situation where somebody was trying to get more money and then say that this were the number of students that were funded. So I think it was some accounting thing, error that happened. And unfortunately, it took us some time to discover that, when at education, we should not be using the numbers as so articulated from the finance ministry.
So from your ministry, what was the number?
3.5.
Oh, 3.5. Oh, so okay, that means that you agree with what our research team put out there, 3.5 million. But from your experience, what you do know, as a minister who has implemented this, I mean, first 4 years as deputy, second 4 years as the minister, would you then agree with people who suggest that those who can, we should allow them pay?
I think I wouldn't want to preempt. This new government have not been there for too long. I don't want to go into that space. They have set up a committee. I think it's better you allow them to settle in to understand the issues and then lead their own discussions.
But it won't be bad to hear from a former Minister of Education.
I want to give them time to settle in. We came and understood clearly that our policy was just like pre-tertiary education policy anywhere in the world. Go to America, they are the ones who first introduced this. Secondary education is for all. After all, the so-called those who can are the taxpayers, the chief directors of ministries, headmasters, people who are being taxed in this country at a very high level. They are the ones that will say, government is going to spend, but we are not spending on you. You don't create a more cohesive country that way. That was our policy for 8 years, and we did it. So I'm not here to prescribe any pathway for any new government. That was our policy, and we felt that everybody should benefit. So that's why I say I don't want to offer any suggestion, but I'll tell you what we did as a government and why we did what we did. That I think the taxpayers should also benefit from the taxes that they are paying.
So what brought about the many challenges that bedeviled the policy?
I won't say bedeviled. I think
characterized.
I'll tell you. The opportunity that was presented to this country was the fact that we're now educating children for 21st century. You see, you cannot overlook the benefit and then jump to the challenges. When you look at this youth and what they were doing, coming from backgrounds that they couldn't have had a chance, now they had a chance. You can't talk about transformation of a country if education is not equitable. We had run a country for many years where there was something called cutoff. And for those who did not know, because their children were not affected by it, every year the ministry or the Ghana Education Service will take a look at how many spaces were available in secondary schools. And then based on that, they will set the aggregate that qualifies you to enter a public senior high school. In some years, maybe aggregate 28. If you get more than 28, you don't go. Sometimes maybe less. What that did to many families who could not afford is that secondary education was not for them. And it got so bad that some parents began to see that they had to do something for their children. But the public school system said to them that you cannot come here. So that is why there was an emergence of private senior high schools all over the country. So when the public school rejects you, then you go to the private school. So the parents who could not afford were the ones that had to borrow to send their children to private schools. Because the public school said to them, you don't come here anymore. You came to our public schools from kindergarten all the way to junior high. You were not prepared well. We don't want to see you. Go and find yourself a private school to attend. So when you look at the numbers, 100,000 students always were admitted but couldn't even get themselves together to go to secondary school because the resources were not there. You cannot talk about transforming your country when those who are disadvantaged are those that we shut the door in their face and tell them, you need not come here. When they don't come, their talent is lost to our nation. And when that talent is lost, maybe that will be the Einstein that we have missed. Because invariably, those from disadvantaged homes don't get good prep for the exams. And therefore, they may not do well, not because they are not smart, but because of the lack of preparations for the exams, they don't do well on the exams. And a child goes to school for 3 years and will take 1 week to examine him, and that determines his future. Consequently, something had to be done. And the government of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo decided that we had to open the floodgates of education to everyone. And when they come in, you have to give them intervention so that they can compete. A number of schools will tell you stories of students who came with aggregate 30 and ended with less than aggregate 10 on the WASI. Because it's not because they were not smart, the background, the schools that they attended, did not give them the opportunity to be competitive on the BEC. But when they come in, and see the environment, the excitement that I'm in school, they go to work. And a number of them end up doing very well in terms of their performance on the WASI and move on to great things.
The WASI performance is not merit, because you speak to some of the teachers and they tell you the quality in the senior high schools has dropped hugely.
How do you tell me quality has dropped when the same standards are being used in the assessment and they're doing better? Quality has dropped. No, it's not past questions. Quality has dropped. How do you define quality? Let me tell you one thing. There's a difference between, if you know education, we have what is called criterion reference test and a norm reference test. When you go to WASI, the exams measure mastery. So, when students are getting better performance, it cannot be that performance has dropped. If you are using a norm reference exam, you grade on the curve. So there are some years where somebody will get 70 and get A1. And if it's a norm reference test, some years somebody will get 60 and still get A1 because all of them didn't do well. So if we are using a norm reference test, you can make that assumption. Because you see, standards are fun, but they are still getting the same grade because it's a norm reference exam. They are grading on the curve. But WASI is a criterion reference exam. It measures mastery, and performance is compared from year to year. When you look at BEC, BEC is a norm reference exam. You grade on the curve. WASI is not a norm reference exam.
Okay.
So when the quality falls, it will immediately reflect in the performance of the exam. But if I'm a teacher, teaching at a category C school, My assumption about standards have fallen may come from the fact that in the previous years, certain students were not allowed to come there, right? Because there was a cutoff. So I was not dealing with a certain group of students because they were not allowed to come in. Now with the removal of the cutoff, there are some students that are going to come there that may not have the same level of proficiency as those who are used to teach. Consequently, I may be right by saying the number of students, the students that I'm teaching, their levels are a bit low this time compared to those I was teaching the previous years. Because the previous years, you were getting only those with 28 or better. Now you can get somebody with 38. And that is why Ghana Education Service came up with a unique policy called intervention courses. What the intervention course is meant to do is to enable students whose performance are subpar to enroll in courses that are not necessarily high school level. So if it's mathematics and English, they are literally repeating the junior high school mathematics and English. That is what is done around the world. So essentially, the student who come in and is subpar is not left to sink or swim, but is given additional coursework in mathematics and English for them to catch up. So when you do that very well, then what happens to you is that those students who may not be at the level that student used to be years back still have an opportunity to improve on themselves because they might have gone to a school where they did not get the support that they needed. So you cannot do a cookie cutter mass education without intervention for those who are struggling. So for example, a student walking into a school, he's doing home economics, he walks into a management in living class, the teacher sees that this student cannot read proficiently. In other jurisdictions, you go to the intervention English class so that your English reading proficiency will move up before you may be asked to then take the full scope of courses. So if you don't...
Was this really what was happening? Or it was on paper? Because some of the students even spent 3 weeks in school, 6 weeks, and they have to go back home.
No, it's not.
The double track. We had stories of students who would report to school 2 months, they have to go back.
No, never true.
Really?
You see, yes. You see, I wish I have I will send you the calendar for you to take a look at it. The calendar is still being implemented. It's not true. Let me tell you. This was, and I always talk about slash and burn politics. We, politicians, are our worst enemies. We will take an issue, bastardize it, for Ghanaians to hate it. And unless people come to appreciate it, they will still go by what my other colleague from Parliament was saying about it. Let me take a few minutes of your time. I don't know the time that we have. But you see, double track never was invented in Ghana. I was fortunate enough to have taught in the U.S. system. In the year 1994, high schools in California moved from 3 years to 4 years with no facilities for the 4th year. Then they resorted to what we call double track or call year-round schools. All that you do is this. Instead of one cohort of students coming to the school, we divide them into 3. 1 stays at home, 2 go to school at any point in time. With that arrangement, schools that used to bring in 1,000 can now do 1,500. But in order for the 3 cohorts to fit, you make the school day longer and the school year shorter. So for example, instead of around the world, the standard is 180 days. I think GS last year was doing 185 days, for example, for students who are on single track. And by the way, as I speak with you, close to 70% of all students are on single track. All schools.
Close to 70%.
Are on single track. Schools are on single track. What does that mean? What it means is that they don't do double track. They don't do double track. When we started, it was about close to 50-50. About maybe 49 doing double track. Now, with more schools being built, more classrooms being built in the existing schools, the number had gone down. A school like Tamasco used to be double track, is no longer double track. Okay? So the whole idea is that to get more students and also to reduce class sizes, what you do is divide the population into 3, have 2 of them there at a time, 1 at home. When you do that, you have increased enrollment, and you're also able to reduce even class sizes as a result of that intervention. But how do you make up for the lost hours since the school year is shorter? What you do is that you make the school day longer. Because in education, we talk about instructional hours and not instructional days. So instead of students going to school at 8 and closing at 2 or 2:30, now if they go at 8, they close at 4. So when you do that, you make up for the lost days with more hours. That is the basic underpinning of how you implement a double track regime.
Okay.
So, and in Ghana, the interesting thing was that double track was not implemented, unlike in the US where we did it based on lack of space in the schools. In the Ghanaian context, the major issue is lack of space in desirable schools because we allow parents to choose.
So there were some schools that had the space, but students weren't there?
Yes, because so if there are a number of category C schools, people don't desire to go there. And we don't, because we don't have community-based secondary education. So you don't force people to go to a certain school. In other jurisdictions where there are community-based secondary education, you go to the school in your community. So in those cases, there will not be any school for the most part left where there are spaces and you don't have enough students. There are a number of schools across the country at the category C level with spaces. But you also have students and parents who want the best for their children, and rightly so. I want Presec and I want Presec now. I want Wesley girls, I want Wesley girls now. What does that mean? The double track then allowed the opportunity for parents to have a shot at some of these high-performing schools. So if you look at double track schools, as I speak with you, there are many category A and limited number of category B schools that are double track. The rest of them are no longer double track. The children go to school at the beginning, all of them together, and they vacate all of them together. And that is the norm in Ghana as I speak with you.
But my question was to the effect that it got to a point parents couldn't plan. Because the GES will release the timetable to the student are supposed to report. The next few moments, the students are supposed to come back home.
No, I will tell you this. When you do this calendar issue, sometimes there can be some problem, no doubt about it. So I won't sit here and say there was no challenge. But I'm just saying how the system was working for the most part was what I have described to you. So, for example, in some schools, when you don't have too many students maybe doing a certain subject, right, and you have 2 teachers, a number of times you have a situation where when one track is on vacation, because the ideal thing was that when the students were on vacation, the teachers go on vacation with them. But you may go to a certain school that the headmaster may have made a judgment that because we have limited number of students enrolled in science, I have only 2 science teachers, and therefore I will use them when this track is off. So there are some teachers who were adversely affected in that manner, but it was not supposed to be that way. If you're a teacher and you are on track A, when students are on vacation, you have to also be on vacation so that there's no extra burden on you. But sometimes as you implement, there can be some deviations from the norm. And no doubt there could have been some deviations from the norm. But the actual design, how it was supposed to work, was to increase enrollment in the desirable schools. And the schools that had challenges, you allowed them to do the single track. And they had more time to work with the students because now their school day is longer and they have more school days. And therefore, track C, most of your category C schools, almost all of them, category C, are single track.
Is that how come you couldn't achieve your target of eliminating double track before your tenure ends? Because the double track earlier, it wasn't even supposed to have been there for the entire 4 period of your first term.
Oh, no, it's not true. We told the country, I remember the President Kufuor launching in Tamale. We gave the country up to 7 years.
Up to 7
years.
But
so yes,
couldn't do it, huh?
yeah. Definitely, it didn't end at the end of the 7 years. See, double track started in 2018, not the first year.
Yes.
Yeah, so the 7 years was to end with our tenure.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the first year actually was to end somewhere even after our tenure, because the first year we started in September 2017. September 2017, it wasn't double track. So you went to September 2018 before double track came in. When we saw the enrollment and the demand in the spaces, that is when we brought in double track to accommodate the growth in enrollment.
It also got to a point, feeding the kids was a huge problem. Why was it so?
No, let me tell you. Feeding children, look at it this way. You have this number of mouths to feed. There are times when a certain school may have a problem. And I'll commend headmasters. They were very creative and innovative. To the extent that when we even did the zonal distribution, if a certain school has challenge, they may go to another school that had a lot of food, and then they will barter among themselves for some time. So headmasters did a fantastic job. But I'll tell you, we've done it. We've done it. No school was shut down at the time. So we did
food.
Not all the time, not always. I mean, I can't tell you, because sometimes when you hear food being stolen, the media, you heard it.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So when you hear those things, what does it make you feel? When we work so hard to get food to schools and somebody's stealing it. So that person who is stealing the food, what food are they going to use in feeding the children?
But what?
So this is not a one-way street where you can just sit comfortably and say, why this? That school where food was being stolen, how were they going to feed the students?
But what quantity of the food?
No, I can't tell you. I mean, we run a major organization, 1,200 schools. I can't sit here and conjecture and tell you at this school this happened.
No, so my point is that the ones that were being stolen, even though they are wrong, they couldn't have impacted the program.
I'm not telling you that there were no challenges, but for the most part, things worked the way it should be. But obviously, you may have challenges here and there, and that I accept. But I won't sit here and say there were no issues, there were no challenges. Yes, when you run a major program anywhere in the world, you're going to have challenges. But you have to be determined to deal with it and keep it going.
If you are the minister, how would you have solved it?
I will not make that conjecture. I'm not the minister. I'm the former Minister for Education. I'm not going to tell the minister what to do. I don't think that's fair to the new minister who have just come, and the former minister is sitting on TV telling him what to do.
Why don't you allow parents to even take charge of feeding?
I'm not going to make that conjecture, and I have to be clear with you. I'm not the Minister for Education. I've done my part, and Anado Danko Akufo-Addo, I will not tell the current minister what to do. It's not fair to him. He's a seasoned politician.
Let's go to your time. Why didn't you allow parents to come into
I've finished it. I've done my work. It's over. I'm not going to look back and say, why couldn't this? No. Hindsight is 2020. I did it. We are
building a nation together.
The new minister, I will never tell him what to do. He's a seasoned politician. Haruna is a seasoned politician. I will allow him the space.
I'm not asking the question because of the minister. I'm asking the question because of
country
building. We are building Ghana.
I will not say it. I will not. I choose to respond. I'm not responding. I'm not going to tell the new minister what to do. Haruna is a seasoned politician. He knows what to do.
Parents offered to feed their kids.
I'm not going to say that I've done what I had to do. The president had done a fantastic job. That is it. If you want the future is Haruna. And he's a seasoned politician.
Okay. Now, you said this on 2nd December 2024, and I quote, "We want to make sure that we enhance access to education at all levels, improve the quality of teaching and learning at all levels, and make education relevant to the economic transformation agenda of Ghana. When I sit at the Ministry of Education as a minister, my preoccupation is to ensure that we transform public education spaces," unquote.
Thank you. for bringing that issue up.
Did you do it?
Yes.
You achieved this?
Yes. Started. And I did what had never been done before. 80 public schools open one day. Never happened before. Go to East Legon, Accra STEM Academy. Go and see that public school. Go to St. Barnabas, a school that was so dilapidated and run down that it was unconscionable to have children going to that school. I visited the school myself. I saw the level of dilapidation. And this was Osu in Accra. I was angry that this should not be happening, especially in Accra. Osu, the former seat of government, had such a level of dilapidation as in Barnabas that was unconscionable. By the time I was leaving, 8 months thereafter, we opened a new St. Barnabas school, beautiful. We had retrofitted. We had given them new furniture, new uniforms. The school was just like any private school anywhere in the world. And it's a public school. I believe that we've not been fair to the Ghanaian worker. When people pay taxes and work, they should not be left to look for money to educate their children in private schools because the public school is bad. I think it's not acceptable. After people pay taxes, this is the new St. Barnabas School at Osu, when it was commissioned.
Okay.
This school was in such a level of dilapidation that you don't expect in Accra.
Okay.
But we, the managers of the public education space, just looked on. And it wasn't a border. We have become used to building rectangular shaped buildings painted brown and yellow, and we call them public schools. And the middle classes, we don't want it. But not wanting it means that they have to now borrow money to send their children to private schools, and it costs them arm and leg private school education. We, the owners of the taxes, the supervisors of the revenue that come to us should do a better job. And that is what I began. And I'm always super proud of the work that we did in transforming public school spaces.
Okay.
The new public schools, the old ones that we rehabilitated. It's a testament for this nation to see that when you enter a space, transform it before you exit. So it's something that I will always be proud of.
What do you see of the future of Ghana's education?
What we did is there for the world to see. And I hope there will be a continuation of this, that more children will find themselves in spaces where St. Barnabas students are currently being educated. I hope that more transformed junior high schools will be seen in this country. And I hope that our march towards transformation of education through STEM will continue.
Okay.
And when that happens, we have created a more equitable nation. We have created a country whose education system will transform its socioeconomic fortunes. That 20 years from now, we'll look back and say we began and it was continuing, and we transform the socioeconomic fortunes of Ghana through education. We did what the Chinese president did after visiting Japan. That is the nation that I hope we'll be able to create.
What do you think you'll be remembered for as a Minister of Education?
I hate telling people how to remember me, but I'll tell you this. I think people will say Dr. Educhum came, invited by another Danko Akufo-Addo. He saw opportunity and took advantage of it and began the transformation of the Ghanaian education system.
Okay. Nana Ami here is watching us now. He says, what was the allocation made for feeding each student? I learned 1 cedi 97 pesos per student for 3 square meals per day. I currently pay 47 cedis for just lunch alone for my daughter at Roman Rich School. It's incumbent on new media people to interrogate the new minister, Haruna. Okay. So
it's not accurate.
Well, it's not one cedi?
It's 7 cedi 50 pesos.
For a day?
Oh, yes.
3 square meals per day?
Yeah. It's not. Okay. What he's saying is not accurate. You see, people confuse high school feeding with the basic school feeding program, so maybe that's
right. Okay. I'm grateful to you for passing through us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invite. Right. Thank you.
Dr. Educhum, Yawose Educhum, is Ghana's former Minister for Education, and it was our pleasure to have him here on the show.
of Ghana's youth are willing to emigrate in search of greener pastures. And as a result, it has become imperative to find innovative ways in retaining Ghana's human resource, which is key for the country's growth and transformation. And to achieve this goal, Ishmael Yamson and Associates, in partnership with the Multimedia Group, presents the 2025 Business Roundtable under the theme, Managing the Talent Exodus, Leveraging Public-Private Partnerships for Growth. And this morning, the team joins me in studio here to officially outdoor the partnership and tell us more about the Business Roundtable. In studio with me this morning is Michael Yamson, Senior Partner at Yamson and Associates, and of course, Winston Amwa, host of the Super Morning Show, and I believe the Head of Business. Gentlemen, welcome to the AM show.
Thank you very much.
I want to start with Winston because you're a familiar face. What are we doing here today? Tell us.
Oh, I mean, basically, we're here to officially outdoor the partnership between the Multimedia Group and Ishmael Yamson and Associates. As you indicated, look, if we were to run a poll, a lot of Ghanaian youth would tell you their willingness to leave the country. Many believe the only way they can succeed is to travel outside. But the only reason why Africa is talked about as being the next big thing in the world is because of its youthful population. And so imagine losing your youthful population. It's problematic because you need your human resource to transform your country.
Okay.
And how do you manage the exodus of your most critical resource, your human resource?
Okay. Ishmael, can you explain why the roundtable and the choice of theme for this year?
Well, thank you very much for having me this morning. I think the roundtable is important because when you get away from, the news cycle, when you get away from the noise, businesses and those who manage the economy from time to time need to take a step back and look at those issues that we need to think about that will be very important for our growth and development as businesses and as an economy, 10, 20 years down the line. We've had this dynamic going on for a very long time. We saw it in the 70s, and we're seeing it again. We tend to think that this loss of talent is about doctors, nurses, and teachers. But in actual fact, it is right across the professional landscape. Yesterday, I had a conversation with a CEO who said, it's hitting me. And this is a firm of architects. So we need, as a country, to have this conversation to talk about what happens when the growth comes.
Yeah.
Who will actually be here to run this economy, who will be here to power the growth. If we're losing all our talent to Germany, to Cote d'Ivoire, to Nigeria, to Brazil, to Canada, then it doesn't bode well for all the efforts that we are making to get this economy to pick up. Okay. So the HR component, if you like, of our growth plans is what this Business Roundtable seeks to engender a conversation around. Where would the talent come from, and how do we make sure that we're not losing the critical resource that Ghana will need the next 10, 15 years to make sure the recovery is strong and sustained.
Okay, I'll circle back to you to tell us more about the nitty-gritty of the partnership. But Winston, let's get the details of this year's event out there. When is it happening? Where is it happening? Who can attend and all that?
So it's actually happening on the 7th of May 2025, okay? And the speakers include David Ofosu-Dotte. We all know him, his senior partner, AB in David Africa. Professor Mary Setrana, who's a Center for Migration at the University of Ghana, and Her Excellency Dr. Amina Gorib Fakim would all be attending on the 7th of May 2025.
Okay. Ishmael, about this partnership with the Multimedia Group, what are the expectations? What is the intention behind? I know that the goal is already clear, but the partnership, what is the nitty-gritty in there? Tell us more.
Well, we've built the Business Roundtable over the last 12 years. It's gone from a niche conversation among senior executives, and the audience has really and truly grown. In fact, COVID was a blessing to us because it took us away from just having the in-person events, and we went online. And now when we have Business Roundtable, 10,000 people all over the world tune in to listen.
That's no small number.
But it's almost like the prophet having no respect in their own home.
I felt that here we were building a brand and an event that is gaining reputation globally. And then in Ghana, we had not leveraged the media opportunity. And so we reached out for a 1-year relationship. And,
so this is just for a year?
No, and then multimedia said, no way, this is not going to be a 1-year relationship. Yeah. This is going to be a long-term relationship. And that's why we're here today. Okay. The brand has grown. It's grown internationally. Now we need to actually do more work to establish firm roots where home is.
Okay. Yes. And I understand that we are going to do this right here, sign the contract.
Right here now.
Okay.
Yes. But before we sign also, Sweetie or Christiana, I like the Christiana.
Winston.
Well, it's important to add that, as a brand, we believe in collaborations. We also believe in playing a role in the transformation of this country. Okay, every morning when we get onto radio, in the afternoon, in the evening, we always talk about not just talking about problems, but also talking about the solutions and being part of the solution. And so if you have a brand like Ishmael Yamsing and Associates reaching out and saying, this is something we want to do because of the position you find yourself as the biggest media brand, we say, let's do this for more than 1 year. Let's do this for a 5-year period. Okay, and we believe that it will be one in perpetuity because of the belief we all have in having a conversation in the interest of the country and, most importantly, helping in the transformation of our country.
If there's one thing I know about the Multimedia Group, we like to proffer solutions and actually go out there and make it happen. And hence, I'm not surprised with this at all. So, Winston, over to you. Get this contract signed.
No, so we have to get it signed now. I just would sign my part and hand it over, to Michael. You've been calling him Ishmael, Michael, so that he can also sign. So let me just sign here.
Well, beg your pardon, Michael. So if you're just joining us, this is a collaboration between the Multimedia Group and Ishmael Yamsing and Associates on the Business Roundtable. On this year's theme, actually, is managing the talent exodus, leveraging public-private partnerships for growth. And we're looking at how we can stop the exodus of talent. Everyone wants to japa. How could we ensure that that's japa, mindset is changed? And that's what we're doing right here. He's signing his part of the contract, and then that will be it. Well, congratulations. Let me be the first to congratulate the Multimedia Group.
Well, it's interesting that we're getting married on Valentine's Day. That bodes well.
It's a day of love.
It is.
Love will lead in this.
And you're certainly right. I mean, it's one that you can easily remember on the 14th of February, 2025. Yes.
No one will come for you for forgetting your anniversary. No, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for this beautiful work that we are beginning here today. And hopefully, the results that we are looking for will actually come to fruition. Final words before we go?
Well, I think that this is an event that corporate Ghana needs to be part of. People running their own businesses, CEOs of large entities. We all need to understand what the migration means for us. We see it more in terms of the competition that we're increasingly having over a scarce talent pool. But the answer is not just in getting into a bidding war over talent. We actually need to find a way to hold the talent and grow the talent. And it's worth having this discussion as leaders of business and leaders of policy. So thank you
so much. Let me give you the final word in about 30 seconds.
In 2008 February, also in February, I was at Wales in the EU conference. And at the time, the First Minister of Wales, Rodri Morgan, had something that has got me thinking since that day. His fear was that 50 years from then, as in 2008, Europe will become the world's old people's home. He had a concern about the aging population. We don't have that concern. Our concern is that the youthful population don't want to be here, and we must find opportunities for them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Those who join us for this conversation, Michael Yamsing, Senior Partner at Yamsing and Associates, and of course, Winston Amwa, host of the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM, and also Head of Business here at the Multimedia Group. Stay with us. So much more coming your way on the AM Show. We'll be right back. Well, it's still the AM Show. Let's have a conversation now with Professor William Atulik. He is he is from the Heritage Christian University. They're coming to tell us more about what's happening there. Prof, thank you so much for joining us. I know that you just got chartered as a proper university. That must be exciting news for you.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Okay, so tell us about Heritage Christian University. What are you mostly known for?
Okay, Heritage Christian University is a private university sponsored by the Church of Christ and promoting innovative, values-driven Christian education. We have been providing education in business, information technology, and now we've added the sciences. So we're doing nursing, midwifery, and we are rolling out a lot more other science-based and engineering-based programs. But I'm happy to say that through dint of hard work, we have just received our charter from the President of the Republic of Ghana. And we are very excited about that development.
How does that, this presidential charter, how does it reinforce Heritage University, Heritage Christian University's commitments to excellence and ethical leadership?
Well, thank you very much. To receive charter by any university, it represents the highest level of acknowledgement of excellence, making the institution a fully fledged university, recognized nationally and globally. And so it gives us an enhanced flexibility to roll out innovative programs that can produce work-ready graduates. So we are excited about it. And the charter makes us independent. We are able to issue our own certificates, diplomas, and degrees. And there is an enhanced flexibility in the level of innovation. Before charter, you have to be mentored. And we are very grateful to our mentors. They have done a great work, and we've learned a lot. We've assembled a very good team, and now we think that we are mature to work on our own, and this has been recognized by the state through the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission.
You mentioned innovative programs. Share some with us.
We believe that education should be practical, and it should be focused on solving problems, the problems in our environment, in our society. And so to do that, you need to provide education that is skills-based, education that is values-driven, education that provides hand-holding support in solving problems. So all the degrees that we offer, we deliberately design value systems into the program so that we don't only teach you the theory and the practice, we emphasize the need to be a person of integrity, to be creative, to be compassionate, and to recognize that you live in the society with other people and that your education is intended to add value. So values-based education is very innovative. We also deliberately design into the education that we provide entrepreneurship. That we do emphasize that whatever you are learning, the purpose for which you are learning it is for you to solve problems in that area, in that sphere. So we don't only teach you entrepreneurship, we show you the way to do business, to launch your business and to run your business. So whether you are learning information technology and its related programs, nursing, business, theology, psychology, media studies, multimedia technology, whatever you are learning, our emphasis is try and discover the problems in the area and solve them. And we teach you how to do that. And we hold your hands to do that. Number 3, we emphasize professionalization. So whatever you are learning, there are professional bodies that regulate that practice. And we encourage you to get aligned with the professional body in your chosen area so that you are not only somebody who knows what to do, you belong to a professional body that can regulate what you do. We think that this blended, integrated approach to learning produces learners and graduates who are job ready, and the emphasis is also on technology. So the use of technology to deliver all of this. So you become ready in the current world to contribute.
What I'm hearing is your approach is to prepare the individual holistically for the job market, for entrepreneurship, in fact, soft skills, technology.
Absolutely.
All that is in there.
Absolutely.
But I'm curious to know, since you received this presidential charter, have you reviewed your vision and mission statements and all those? I know you kept talking about value systems, but has anything been reviewed yet?
Yes. So actually, it took us close to 3 years to prepare ourselves and get ready to receive the presidential charter.
Okay.
And part of the process, we reviewed everything, including our vision. And it is in that process we reviewed our vision to focus on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Okay.
So before then, our emphasis was on business. Now we are shifting more into science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Rightly so, because it is the fourth industrial revolution.
Because we want to solve problems, and we think that is the area where we can facilitate, the resolution of problems.
Right.
We have reviewed our vision statement as a result of that. So the vision statement that is in the, our website, which is a leading Christian university promoting excellence in transformation of knowledge, science, technology, and engineering and entrepreneurship is what you find on the website.
Okay.
And we also have reviewed our mission statement. Our values are what I have just spoken to you about: conviction, character, creativity, compassion, and community. And we 5 C's we call them. Right. We ensure that we live those things. We encourage our students to live them. We are very excited, and we are very happy to welcome all who are looking forward to high quality education driven by values and emphasizing entrepreneurship to join us for a life transforming experience.
And I believe admission is in progress.
We are currently enrolling, and so those who are looking for admission into higher institutions of learning and are looking for opportunities not only to learn but to be trained to do things with their hands, Heritage Christian University is the place to be.
All right, so now let's get out the details for how to contact you in terms of phone number, location, website, and all that. Let's start from where you are located.
Heritage Christian University is located at Amasamine, very close to the Olympic Stadium, and you can reach us first through our website, which is www.hcu.edu.gh.
Okay.
So www.hcu, which is Heritage Christian University, .edu.gh.
Okay, great.
You can also reach us by telephone calls 055 102 6164.
And there you have it on your screens, actually, so you can just copy or take a screenshot right now so you don't forget about that.
Very good. Yeah.
How about social media?
We are on all the platforms, all the social media platforms.
Okay.
And so if you Google our name, you will get hooked up to all the platforms.
Prof, we have about 30 seconds more, so I'll give it all to you to speak directly to our audience and invite them to join you at Heritage Christian University.
Well, thank you very much. We want to warmly welcome people who are looking to a life-transforming education to consider coming to Heritage Christian University, where we educate compassionate entrepreneurial leaders. We help our students to dream, pursue, and achieve their goals.
Thank you so much.
So we extend a hearty welcome to all who are looking for education in the businesses, the different accounting with computing, accounting and finance, marketing, human resource management, supply chain, entrepreneurship and technology, then information
Everything,
technology,
really.
information security,
Okay.
psychology, media studies, multimedia technology,
Everything.
nursing, midwifery, and we have
Profit,
graduate programs.
Okay, great.
In accounting and taxation, in accounting and finance, and in human resource management, and Master of Christian Studies.
Okay.
So if you are looking for graduate studies in those areas, we extend an invitation to you as well.
Thank you so much. And that there is Professor Williams Atulik. He's Vice President and Provost for Heritage Christian University, inviting you all to join them. Thank you so much for coming.
You're most welcome, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Right. So coming up next, E-Corner, served by Noella Karim. Please stay for that.
Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a Friday, and you know what time it is, don't you? Did you guys miss me? Because, I mean, I did. It's been an incredibly overwhelming week. I mean, a cold, a tummy ache tried to obstruct your viewing pleasure today. But like a phoenix, I rose, and here I am showing up and showing out. Anyways, happy Valentine's or Chocolate Day. I mean, for now, it's looking like a very ordinary day for some of us until one of you decides to make it very extraordinary for us. Will it be you? You? Saga. And the latest twist, Two-Face is begging, oopsie, pardon me, has actually proposed to his side chick while his estranged wife, Annie, is checked in rehab. And finally, Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance. Some people are saying it was a cultural masterpiece. Others are also saying it's boring. But one thing's for sure, it has got the whole world, talking. And of course, numbers do not lie. All of this is coming together beautifully right after this. All right, you're welcome back. It's E-Corner. And before we get into today's business, I'll indulge you to grab a snack because, I mean, I've got mine. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, so I've got mine. It's actually a chocolate bar because obviously it's Valentine's, it's chocolate day. And so, yeah, I'll indulge you to grab a snack so we can munch on these snacks together. Because listen, the stories I have for you, they're bittersweet and crunchy, just like chocolates, okay? And so I'd want to munch on something because if I do not, then definitely I would be tempted to spill things I'm not supposed to spill. And we don't want to, do that. So we're going to start with Funny Face, okay? Now, if you don't know who Funny Face is, director, let's see who Funny Face is. Let's have a picture of him. So that is Funny Face, okay? Once upon a time, one of Ghana's finest stand-up comedian, children's ambassador, and all in all, a pretty great guy with a fantastic, prominent life ahead of him. Until, in his own words, he fell in love with a nyash. And I am not saying that. I am literally not saying that. He said that himself, that he fell in love with a nyash. But in my own words, he fell in love with a beautiful, voluptuous woman. And for those of you who do not know the woman I'm talking about, let's have her. Let's have the beautiful Vanessa. So that's her. Beautiful Vanessa. She's got her, her arsenals mounted in the right positions. I'm not too sure about her Manchesters, but yeah, very beautiful woman. Together they had beautiful twins and a third child. And all seemed to have been great until it wasn't. One morning we woke up to several rants by Funny Face, accusing the lady of adultery, blah, blah, blah. I mean, technically they were not married. So I don't know where adultery is coming from, but okay? Now, the lady, on the other hand, also complained of ill treatment from Funny Face and him basically shirking his responsibilities to their children. I mean, you've got to give me some credit for summarizing your social media banter with such decorum, because believe me when I say it was hella messy on social media. Unprintable words here and there, several social media posts of Funny Face either ranting, smoking Indian hemp, and for somebody who is actually a children's ambassador smoking Indian hemp, you've got to understand how bad that was. But basically, the lady ditching him plunged him into severe depression. It was so bad, he got checked into a psychiatric ward, got checked out, and then he got better, got back on his feet, performed at shows, even signed a few brand deals here and there. We heaved a sigh of relief because we were so happy. And then he got back to ranting, smoking, drinking, got into a near fatal accident, got checked into the nut house once again. I mean, the whole cycle just repeated itself. But bless God, because once again, our brother is well and back on his feet. And it's admonishing all ye believers to look at the chronology of events that have happened or ensued in his life and believe there's God. Hallelujah, somebody. That was funny face. But anyways, we thank God for the infinite mercies he extends to us and to our brother Funny Face. We claim wholeness and fruitful bounce back for him. In Jesus' name, amen? Amen. Hey, you people. Amen. Amen. Now, moving on, let's talk about a young man named Bright Homenya. Let's have a look at who Bright Homenya is, in case you do not know him. That's him. He's a musician with a stage name Article 1, okay? Now, for those of you who do not know the inspiration behind that name, I don't know myself, so don't ask me. But what I do know is that he burst into the music scene in 2016 with this song. Again, I don't know the inspiration behind the title of the song, but in the last 9 years, he has released a number of songs, has featured a number of colleague musicians, including Patapa. But again, in the last 9 years, he feels his career has been stalled. And some way, somehow, it's our fault as Ghanaians, because he says we've been sleeping on him. Take a look.
I don't think you put Article 1 on any stage, and then I will not speak for myself, I will not blow my horns, but just go and do your own research. Yeah, microphone a different vibration. You go put me for any stage in this world. Forget about they knowing my song or not. Ghana will wave. Bad man. Magic no oh. Okay. Ghana pa omunya agenda na mun push article one. Me pede sa. Ghana pa omunya agenda na mun push article. You know, Ghana is sitting on Article 1 and it's so bad.
All right, so that is Article 1. I'll leave the side comments to y'all in the comment section, but let's move on. And you will be excited about this one because I promised y'all an update on this story and I'm about to deliver, okay? So let's talk about Two-Face and Annie DBS divorce saga. But for time, I would have given you guys a detailed recap. But basically, some weeks ago, Two-Face came online to announce his separation pending divorce from his Bonnie Annie. Yeah, I rhymed, Bonnie Annie. After 12 years of marriage. And honey, believe me when I tell you that the news is nothing compared to the update I'm about to give you. Because for some days now, following Two Babas and announcements on social media, fanatics went digging, and then they discovered that apparently Two-Face was having an affair with this lady that you're seeing on your screen. She's actually a lawmaker. Her name is Honorable Natasha Osawaru, a lawmaker in Edo State in Nigeria, and the rumored current girlfriend of the musician. I honestly don't even know why I'm using the word rumored, because Two Baba confirmed his relationship with this lady with not one but 3 posts. The first post is this, where he shared on Instagram, actually, that people should help him, beg the lady so she will accept to marry him. Actually, that's not what you're seeing on the screen. What you're seeing on the screen is him proposing finally to the lady, and no comments, but yeah, you can watch for yourself. I guess it's true when they say men will leave you in the desert with no water. I said what I said with my full chest. Anyways, let's now talk about the Super Bowl performance, okay? Because time is not our best friend right now. It happened, over the weekend. Kendrick Lamar had he put up a brilliant, beautiful Super Bowl performance. I wanted to do a breakdown of the symbolism of that performance. But listen, I did my research, I read around it, I watched a lot of, videos, and I realized that the explanation out there is based on people's point of view, okay? And the point of views are scattered. There are many. Do I have a point of view? Absolutely, I do. I think that he put up a beautiful, performance that resonated deeply with the Black American people in America. He tackled on issues of race, of racism, of, deep historical classism, and a whole lot of, topics. And then he also got petty with his, beef with Drake. He performed Not Like Us in the most pettiest ways I've seen. But before that, it's instructive to also note that before his, Super Bowl performance, actually Lil Wayne was tipped to perform at the Super Bowls by fans because obviously he's a native of New Orleans. And he has done a lot of things that shows how deeply connected he is with the city. And so a lot of people thought it was great. Plus, the likes of Lil Wayne walked for people like Kendrick to crawl or run or whatever. And so people thought it was great for him. It would have been great for Lil Wayne to actually perform at the Super Bowl. But anyway, it didn't happen. Kendrick did. And now he has actually made history and has the highest views according to, the NFL. And so congratulations to Kendrick Lamar. It's unfortunate I have to truncate my show at this point. I have a lot of content to share with you, but time is not our best friend right now. And so I'm going to, wrap things up right here by still wishing you a beautiful chocolate day today. Of course, the entertainment industry has been nothing short of entertaining, just the way we like it. So same time, same place next week. Until then, keep your energies high, your vibes immaculate, and of course, the conversations spicy. And do you need me to tell you to stay fabulous? I'm not sure.
Noella. Thank you for the chocolate. You're the first person who's giving us chocolate today.
Yeah, I'm very thoughtful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think one thing I love about Valentine's is the way Ghana has tried to wrap it around chocolate.
Yeah.
That's what makes it.
It's chocolate today.
Us, don't you?
Say again?
You should take us out today.
You have no problem at all.
Okay.
Okay, Chairman. But folks, we have to go. That's our show for today. But we want to remind you that tomorrow, you know how we do it. It's News File. And they'll be discussing the OSP, Ken Oforiatta, fugitive from justice, Oral versus Okal, JM, the new clearing agent, mass sacking, the last-minute recruitment ritual, all that coming up on News File tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Don't miss it.
All right, Inti, we are just wrapping up. Thank you for being, a partner to this. Today we'll meet again, God willing, next week. But I want to say this in my local language. In the Valentine, chocolate benedi.
Guys, over Lolo Vivina, ta mega godoga Monday. Bye bye.